delighted to welcome you all to the second edition of the Voice of Change Summit. After the resounding success of the inaugural edition, I'm thrilled to have you all here to continue the crucial conversation on equitable gender portrayal in media.
We collectively recognize our inherent power and potential as change makers to break the shackles of gender stereotypes and remodel societal frameworks.
We will unveil before you a groundbreaking research study that has been done by the Gina Davis Institute on Gender in Media, powered by the Google AI.
All of you embraced me, and it took my nerves. I'm still nervous, but you got me off the back wall so that I can come up here and talk about what a difference this makes for children, for young people, and how if we come together, we can really make sea change for everyone.
When you move a step back, it's not because you are afraid. It's because before taking a leap, you definitely need to take a step back and take that larger leap. I think it's a time now that we step back a little, think, ponder, and then take the giant leap, which is needed in today's times for women to be empowered.
It is all about inspiring the next. And if we inspire the next, change will happen automatically in your own lifetime. You can see tremendous changes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
They did make a big change because they created conversations around gender sensitivity in communication.
मेरे जैसे गांव में धरातल पर काम करने वाले लोगों को आप जैसी महान हस्तियों के बीच में बुलाकर हमारे कामों को सम्मानित किया जा रहा है। इससे ये लगता है कि धरातल पर काम करने वाले लोगों की पूछ है।
We're at an inflection point of technology, and especially as we're seeing AI and solutions of AI come forward, there is an acceleration that we're seeing in how technology is solving for situations. And I'm going to go back to, we do believe that if we use this technology, we can accelerate this pace and we can remove barriers faster than what is anticipated.
And responsible AI is basically trying to make sure when we do that, when we're giving human powers to machines, we're doing so in a manner that makes the AI systems less biased, more transparent, and more interpretable.
The great news is we are looking at life through the gender lens all the time.
To the creator and the writer actor's perspective, there's definitely a good change. And OTT that way plays a big role.
But let me tell you some good news in television is that television has better numbers in terms of women representation, both on screen and behind the screen.
Shows and content that are made in large part by women, for women, and consumed by them in a large way.
The revolution has been in motion because people started doing this out of a sense of conviction.
The stories about women, led by women, produced by women, are all commercially very, very successful.
That's wonderful to hear.
The CJN test is something that is followed by gender champions to evaluate every piece of communication.
And I'm very happy to say that over the years, there are less number of ads which are in the gender offensive category.
Agencies are on the back foot right now, and maybe this is a big ask. The honest truth.
In that 30 second, 18 second, 12 second, how much we can bring it. But I think we are accountable for that.
I think since the pandemic, we've seen a huge acceleration in women's adoption of the platform as creators.
That beyond fear lies freedom. And women have experienced fear that is not about this generation, it's intergenerational.
Good afternoon and namaste. How is everyone feeling today? Yes? I thought since we're here for the IAA Voice of Change Summit, I'd like to hear your voices. I think it'd be a great start to the day. So can I hear everyone's voice? How are we feeling? Woo! Yes. Okay, are we ready to break the bias together? Are we? Because you've got to believe before you do. right? The belief has to come before the action. That's how the action will take place. I'm already, start of the day and I'm already going off script. That's how much this means to me. But ladies and gentlemen, I was just looking, as all of you were, at snippets from the second edition. And some lines: the revolution has been in motion. Beyond the fear lies freedom. Can we just have a round of applause for these lines, because they just say so much. And with that, a big, big welcome to the third edition of YouTube and Google presents the International Advertising Association India Chapter's Voice of Change. A big round of applause. All part of a larger pan-India movement for a more gender-sensitive, a gender-equitable portrayal in media and, of course, across digital platforms, all moving towards a progressive society. So what is it all about? Well, the IAA Voice of Change, through powerful conversations and collaborative efforts, truly seeks to drive meaningful change in the way that we tell stories. And we're talking about 30 seconds to 3 hours and everything in between. Let's break the bias together. And let's keep that applause coming, right? An energetic start. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, as Scott Cook insightfully put it, that a brand is no longer what we tell the consumer it is what consumers tell each other it is. Which means, and the good news is, that digital content is here to stay. Digital content also gives all of us a voice, a very powerful one at that. And as the famous saying goes, that with great power comes great responsibility. So as creators, it is our responsibility to shape this narrative, to make sure that it is balanced, it's equitable, it is moving beyond stereotypes and amplifying perspectives. So as we dive into today's discussions, our goal is very clear: to challenge and reshape gender stereotypes as portrayed on digital platforms. This year's summit is another step in our journey towards creating empowered, inclusive, and authentic storytelling, all within this beautiful fraternity that we have with us here today of creative minds. So I must pause here, of course, for a moment and say a big thank you to all of you for taking our time to be with us here today and to be with us as we move forward in this journey. So we have, needless to say, we have a very powerful day lined up, with speeches, discussions, debates, all led by the industry's visionaries. These are the people who are driving the change that we need to see. To kickstart the day, we would like to begin with the lighting of the auspicious lamp. Of course, we'll keep it purely symbolic, because while we do want to start a fire, we don't want to start a fire literally, right? So we have a smoking hot day coming up ahead, but due to fire hazards and safety norms, we will be doing this electronically. To do the honors, it is truly my privilege to welcome to the stage Srinivasan K. Swami, IAA Mancom member and Executive Group Chairperson, R.K. Swami Limited. Welcome, sir. Neena Lavia Jaipuria, Chairperson, IAA Women Empowerment Committee. Megha Tata, Co-Chair, IAA Women Empowerment Committee. Gitanjali Master, Partnership Specialist, Public and Private Sector Engagement, Resource Mobilization Sector, UNICEF Delhi. Neha Barjatia, Marketing Director, Google India, along with, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our chief guest today, Srimati Smriti Irani, former Cabinet Minister. A big round of applause. Welcome, ma'am. Truly an honor. So we will begin by invoking blessings, by lighting the lamp of knowledge and wisdom, dispelling darkness and ignorance. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we kickstart the third edition of IAA Voice of Change. Thank you so much. sir, ma'ams. So I need you to come back as soon as you put your shoes on, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, to officially welcome all of you and to talk a little about IAA, please welcome with a huge round of applause Srinivasan K. Swami, IAA Mancom member. A warm welcome to you, sir.
Good afternoon, friends. This is Sri Smriti Irani, old friend of IAA, a host from Google and YouTube. Two wonderful ladies here who've been steering this wonderful Voice of Change events, Nina and Megha. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. IAA Voice of Change, as we know, we're entering third edition. And the first edition was done 2 years ago. The second edition was done last year. And this is the third edition. But my memory goes back 11 years when we really started talking about gender sensitivities and gender sensitization and all that. And the program at the time was called IAA WOW, Violence on Women, again steered by people like Megha at the time. And it was a full-day seminar where we talked about all the issues that we need to continue to talk. And that's been a journey that has been yielding us very good results. Not only did a seminar where we had agency people, cine people, television people, print people coming and talking about portrait of women, how they've been used as commodity, how they've been wrongly portrayed, all of that has been done. At the time, we also did a market research where we interviewed advertisers and agencies, and to our surprise, we found that there's a lot of concern on how the women have been portrayed and how they felt that they are very conscious of things that is going on in the industry, how they need to correct themselves. And that was about 11 years ago. And this journey has been tapped along, and several posters and initiatives have been done the last 11 years, culminating into this Voice of Change, which is an ongoing program. We said that this is something that we can't do with the fits and starts. We need to actually keep this going for a long time. And we said this is something that has been spearheaded by two wonderful ladies here, Nina and Megha, and they've been doing a wonderful job. We not only had what we call major event seminars, full-day seminar, we also had an event in Hyderabad. We called it a summit, IAA Voice of Change Summit, and they had one in Madras, also by Madras Management Association. And we also had many road shows where we had taken this Voice of Change to various agency offices, like FCB, like Havas, like R.K. Swami, like a few other names, like Leo Burnett, Saatchi and Saatchi, Scarecrow, Saatchi and Saatchi, and I think from Famous Innovations, or many agencies actually have welcomed our voices of change into their own buildings, into their own offices, and taken this word very, very seriously. IAA World Global Office also has adopted DEI as something that is important to embrace. So DEI is again part of the core objects of IAA Global today, and they're taking that very seriously. And of course, we are way, way ahead of what the global office is doing. While they are in 56 countries, what we do in one country, they can't match in 56 countries. That's how we are, thanks to these two wonderful ladies here. I want to take this opportunity, because I'm supposed to be welcome address, I can't but say that it's a great pleasure in welcoming Mrs. Smriti Irani to be with us today. As I said, she's an old friend of IAA. She's been there to one of our India Awards program. I don't know whether she remembers, she was in Bombay, and and she gave us a wonderful speech, a very humorous speech as that. And she's been an excellent voice for the subject we're going to talk about today. She's a great orator, one of the most articulate politicians I've come across, and she can speak and defend on any subject that's given to her. And I'm looking forward to hearing from her. But of course, not only her, I think we have a lot of wonderful speakers here. So I want to actually not single them out, but I want to make sure that they feel welcome here. We have wonderful hosts in Google and YouTube. They're taking very good care of us. So welcome all the wonderful speakers. And of course, I see many people come from many parts of India. So special welcome to all of them. I see somebody from Nasik and somebody from Bombay and somebody from Delhi, of course. Noida. Noida is more difficult than anything else. Anyway, so welcome all of you and have a great day. I think it's going to be a wonderful day of learning, wonderful day of getting to know the intricacies of how biases are spread and how all of us should be conscious of actually taming them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that perfect start and for sharing your wonderful insights. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to invite Neena Jaipuria and Megha Tata, Chair and Co-Chair, IAA Women Empowerment Committee, to tell us more about IAA's Voice of Change movement, its journey, and of course, its impact at the grassroots level. Welcome, ma'ams.
Thank you very much, everyone, for making time and being with us here today. Can we sit down?
Yeah, since there are chairs already.
Okay, so we are very excited to take you through the journey that we've traveled so far on the IAA Voice of Change, a movement that is dedicated to challenging stereotypes in media. So in the next few minutes, Megha and I will actually walk you through how this whole initiative came about. How did we launch it? What was the vision? Why did we do it? What was the momentum it has gathered so far, the impact? And of course, the road ahead in terms of how do we continue to make sure that we challenge stereotypes, we smash biases, and get positive, inclusive representation in content across all platforms. So that's what Megha and me will do in the next few minutes.
Thank you so much, Neena. Absolutely. I think we're really excited about sharing our journey so far, a journey which began about 4 years ago. And it's become, as we call it, a movement in our industry. And I really hope it becomes stronger. So let's get into it and have a little chat and share with our audiences what have you been up to so far?
So Megha, it actually all started in during Megha's regime. So we'll start with her. So Megha, it was a germ of an idea as you know it, and it's become a full-fledged movement today. Would you like to tell everybody how it all started? What was the vision behind this initiative? And did you actually expect it to be what it is today?
Sure, Neena. So I think, Sundar sir, alluded to this one about 11 odd years ago. I had started this in a small form under what was called VOW, which is Violence on Women. And that was the germ of the idea, which was set that many years ago. But under my term, when I was the president of IAA about 4 years ago, we started this initiative called the IAA Voice of Change. And I think the whole objective was that we all know that when you have the position of power, and being part of a communication industry, I think it's a moral responsibility for us as industry people to be that change which we want to see. And I think that is what sort of was driving us to make that change happen, have those conversations. And we were super excited and elated when we got UNICEF to come on board as our knowledge partner. And UNICEF, along with the GDI, which is the Gina Davis Institute of Research and Science, partnered with us in creating a data base which gave us insights on actually what was happening. Because one is to say what I feel, what you feel, what someone feels, but nobody can argue data. And that data was not pretty at all. And I think that drove us to believe in this concept that we've got to do something about it. We have the power, and let's start this journey, slowly but surely we're getting there, and that's how we really started. So So in, coming to the, I spoke about the journey, of course, but Nina, you were part of this whole, came early on to be part of this journey as well, and you've seen how this is moving. But tell us a bit about, if you remember, it was during COVID, I think we did our first summit. It was virtual, I think.
Absolutely.
I think in somewhere in 22,
21.
21. So it was around that time. Tell us something about what happened and what was the experience doing virtually?
So it was amazing to see that how we galvanized the whole industry and the stakeholders of the content ecosystem to come and have a conversation on how gender was being portrayed and represented across communication. And that is what actually edged us on to think that this could get even bigger and this could become a movement which can actually make a difference and make a change. Which is when we, did the research study that Megha was referring to with the Gina Davis Institute and UNICEF, of course. Sadly, and not surprisingly, the insights and findings of that research had very, very disturbing trends of, absolute stereotyping and discrimination.
Specifically for advertising, right?
Especially to advertising. So the study covered 1,000 ads in that year across languages, and of course all that data was provided by BARC, etc. So it was a hardcore, detailed analysis done by GDI, which had really not very happy insights and findings, which is when we decided to therefore cover this into the whole Voice of Change movement. This is when we decided that this is the time to take it to every single stakeholder in the industry who is responsible. So whether they were marketeers, advertisers, influencers, production houses, media agencies, etc. And that's actually what happened in the 2022 summit, where we shared the research results. We had brands like Unilever and Diageo participate. And of course, we had very powerful voices there as well, including that of Poonam Mahajan and Vidya Balan. So it was the first edition. We spoke about the advertising research at that point of time in that summit. But having finished with that, we then moved on from the, moving on, and we were thinking about what to do and what is the next step from there. And Megha, we also then, like Swami sir said, we took it to Chennai, we took it to Hyderabad, and we did a whole lot of road shows. So Megha, it'll be great to share with them what these road shows actually are, and what is the vision of taking this to the grassroots level, because it is very important for them to understand that it's an all-year-round movement that is not just about this one summit, but it's about actually going to the grassroots.
Absolutely. And I think that is a very, very integral part of what we are doing, because this is not about saying the right thing in a forum like this and then going back and doing exactly what you're not supposed to do. So the idea was that once you have created a platform, you get the powerful voices to say and make the changes which is required. But it was important to go down and talk to the community, talk to the teams who are actually sitting and creating and taking those decisions when you're creating that content. So it started from advertising primarily, and we said that let's go to these agencies, talk to the teams who are the strategy people, who are the creative people, the person who's actually sitting and putting that storyboard together, the person who's actually deciding the casting of that film, right? The person who's sitting and working with the strategy team or the brand manager, that get them involved and become more conscious when they're making a decision on how that film should look like. So I think that was the primary objective. And so we decided that we need to go agency to agency, door to door, literally getting people to feel more committed and almost like own it in their own way. This is not our agenda. This is our agenda. It is important for the industry to come together to make that difference. So we went about we've gone to Havas, we've gone to Leo Burnett, like so the sir was talking about, multiple agencies across Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, and we're taking small steps, but definitely strong steps to make that change happen. And which is why it is really, it's very heartening to see that some of the ideas which came about in these interactions were so practical. And all you had to do was sit and just remind them. That's all we did, Nina. We just told them, like, just be conscious. When you're sitting there, wear that lens, wear the gender lens, wear the gender hat, or whatever you may want to call it.
In
And
fact,
that
if you
is-
remember, Megha, there was one advertiser who also participated in the roadshow, and they called the gender lens, and very interestingly, and I think I've taken to it, the third eye. And they said that every piece of communication that we now brief, we create, and we put out, we have a third eye, which is really the gender lens. And does it have the right representation, the positive representation, the inclusive representation, if you remember?
Yeah.
And that really stuck with me, and I keep talking about the third eye to every single creator now that I meet.
Absolutely, and there were some fantastic takeaways, and we're hoping that we get some many takeaways here today as well. In fact, talking about after going through these road shows, and we really were inspired, as you know, and we saw the difference we were making. Tell us about, the summit which happened last year, and I think that was when Google came on board with us and to partner with us. Tell us a bit more about that summit.
So we realized that, content is being now consumed across platforms, tribes, screens, demographics, and geography. And we said, why stick and why just do Voice of Change and apply it just to content, which is advertising? So we actually decided to move into television content, and our wonderful partners, Google, joined us in that journey. And it was a very interesting exercise because we actually did a survey with Gina Davis, again with USC, which was powered by the Google AI, for the top 100 shows of the Indian television content across 5 years in 5 languages. So a study done through machine learning and the technology angle brought in so many different dimensions, brought in different insights, data-driven insights, which therefore helped us to understand the gender narrative in television content. So the second summit that we had exactly 1 year ago, actually November 22, was that of gender representation in TV content. And of course, I don't need to say this again, but again, some of the trends were not very happy. So there again, in the second edition, we had a whole lot of brands, a whole lot of stalwarts from television, and you saw some of them in the audiovisual as well. We had participation from the OTT teams as well, and again, powerful voices like Khushbu Sundar and Dia Mirza. So a very interesting conversation, again, which was now covering not just advertising, but moved to television content as well. So that was really the last year's edition. But having come so far, Megha, you know that, and we realized that, okay, we've covered advertising, we've covered TV, we've covered OTT, but there is a very large segment we seem to have not explored. So Megha, you want to tell them about what this whole third summit is about and how we've decided to now focus on the digital platform?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a very important question because we know that today the kind and the amount of content which is getting consumed on digital platforms is insane, right? We've seen the entire ecosystem of content consumption change from the traditional mediums to the digital platforms. And it was hence very important, Nina, to bring those people into this conversation now. It's important that while we can say that a lot of that content we spoke about in year 1 and year 2 is also seen on digital platforms, but there are a whole lot of content being created for digital content alone. And today I'm really excited to see so many content creators in this room, and I think it's important to bring them into the conversation. We see a lot of women content creators, but to me that's not just the only thing we want to talk about. It's about the same women and men, for that matter, creating that content on a platform, and how conscious are they when they are representing a gender. And that's man, woman, and any other gender for that matter. are we breaking those biases? Are we being more, breaking those stereotypes which exist? And I think with the audiences, with the content being consumed so much on digital platform, it is very important that we bring the digital ecosystem into this journey as well. And that is what this third edition is. Again, super thankful to Google and YouTube to support us in this journey. And we have some amazing content creators today. We have a great content creator discussion as well. And we're hoping that through this day today, there will be some key takeaways each one of you take away with, which will make, you can say, like a ready reckoner of sorts, when you're deciding how to make that content work, which is breaking the gender stereotype. So on that note, I think my last question, and I think we have an exciting schedule ahead, is to you, Nina, that we did advertising, we did TV, we did OTT, we're doing digital. What next? Where do you think the next big milestone of IAA Voice of Change is going to be?
To me, this is a movement and which is absolutely ongoing. And Megha, as they say, we have miles to go before we sleep. But having said that, we'd love to continue to give wings to the IAA Voice of Change. We'd love to create much more awareness than we have, much more sensitivity in creation than we have. We'd love to go to many more geographies, demographics, and creators than we have. So, like I said, the profound influence that content has on the viewers' lives, it shapes their mindsets, their values, their beliefs. It also kind of helps them perceive the way the world is. It kind of defines social narratives. So to me, this endeavor is going to be very imperative and critical because it will continue to analyze and understand representation of gender, pick out these inequalities, pick out the stereotypes, pick out the biases, and hopefully have potential solutions there which will help us to create more positive, more inclusive, more equitable portrayal of gender, which eventually will have a very enduring change in society as a whole. So if you ask me, we have to keep inching at it every single day, because what we really want to see from Voice of Change is a societal change. And therefore, like Megha and everybody said, we have a fantastic day ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd love you to be consumed. I'd love you to participate wholeheartedly here so that we can break the bias together.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being here, for being part of this journey. And like Nina said, this is just the starting. We have a long way to go, but every voice does count. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nina, Megha. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely to hear about the inception of the IAA Voice of Change, its journey, its impact, and just everything both of you, and I'm sure a big part of your team has done. It is incredible. Especially love the third eye, right? So do we all have it switched on? Yes? Wonderful. So I know all of us are looking forward to our imminent discussions today. And the perfect way to start the conversation is with our chief guest for the day. Someone whose journey has been nothing short of inspiring. She's a true leader, a visionary, and a powerhouse of determination. So we all know her, we all love her. Her journey began when she captured the hearts of every Indian and possibly every Indian in India and abroad through her portrayal of some iconic roles on television. But her journey didn't stop there. In fact, I'd like to say it started there because with an unwavering determination to serve, she transitioned into public service, taking on some of the most critical and challenging roles for the nation. So thank you so much for that. Let's have a big round of applause before I delve into her achievements. As a senior cabinet minister in the government of India, she has been a transformative force in policies in sectors like women and child development, textiles, and education. Her work has been instrumental in championing initiatives that empower women and uplift communities, ensuring that the impact of her leadership reaches every corner of the country. So today, she's going to be sharing a very unique perspective with us because she has experience in both the world of entertainment and governance. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our chief guest for the day, the incredible, the lovely Srimati Smriti Irani. Thank you so much, ma'am. And to join ma'am on stage, let us invite, with a huge round of applause, Neha Barjatia, IAA Mancom member and marketing director, Google, to dive into the current landscape of digital content, examining how the creator economy is transforming representation and economic empowerment for women. So I still have lots to say, but I'll stop. I'm going to hand it over to the two lovely ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Very, very excited to be here. First of all, I want to thank everyone who's shown up here. I think, the first step in any journey is to show up and be part of conversation. So thank you. And Megha, Nina, for continuing to drive this conversation. Thank you so much. I think it's much needed. And you haven't given up and you're going strong. So thank you. And ma'am, what a privilege and an honor to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. I do want to start by saying, I'm excited about this conversation, one, because it's close to my heart, but I'm also excited because we're having this conversation with Mrs. Irani. You have, I would say, I wouldn't go through your laurels, which everyone knows about, but I just...
Please do.
Okay, let's do that.
I mean, if you're sitting in front of advertisers, that's the one thing we've learned. What Nina and Megha have done is very uniquely and very gracefully recounted their entire journey. And I think that is what women need to do. Keep telling people of your achievements, because that is the one thing you're always denied.
Absolutely. So, I'm sure everyone has their takeaway of your journey, which is truly inspiring. I would say for me, I feel like it's an understatement to say ma'am has been a pioneer in so many ways. I feel like she's not charted a path, she's created her own routes as she's gone through her career in media, your career in politics. And there's so many firsts. You've literally set the benchmarks of so many firsts, the youngest cabinet minister. You were the first woman minister in so many of the portfolios, and you've done so many portfolios. And your career spanning media, decades of your time on screen, but you were also a writer into theater. There's so much. I just feel like there's so much that you have done across a spectrum of things. But I think what stood out is, you've been this ardent supporter of women across everything. You have challenged the norms. You have questioned the whys of how things happen. And you haven't been afraid to speak your mind, which just stands out. You're almost like the personification of courage and resilience, which I have seen in...
I'm just another Indian female who doesn't know when to stop. There's nothing different about me or anybody else in the room.
But you show up. I think what's fabulous is you show up.
I think most of us show up.
Yeah.
The problem is when we show up, how many people see us? Most of us know how to speak. The problem is how many of us are actually heard. So women do not have a problem speaking, showing up, contributing. What we have a problem with is an acknowledgement of that contribution. There are many people who presume just because you're a woman, you're supposed to contribute. And there are none who actually speak about the fact that can we apply the same to any other gender. And that is why I insist. I had this conversation during my introduction off stage with Mr. Narayan. I said, well, she needs no introduction. I said, this always is done to women. When there are men who come on stage, there's lovely, verbose introductions. I would have loved to know the body of work that Megha has done, that Nina has done, which is not limited to, let's say, their contribution to the voice of change. And I think that we have incessantly, socially, never taught women to talk about their achievements, because that is then termed arrogance. That is then termed too ambitious. That is sometimes represented as this chit of a girl barely could do this one thing and she thinks no end of herself. I think many women in this room have that experience. So if you bring women onto stage, speak about their achievements, no matter how small, no matter how big. Make every achievement count, because behind every achievement of women particularly who do not belong to financially very generous backgrounds or socially have met with challenges, there is a huge, long struggle behind it. So every time they come on stage and you read out everything about them, that bolsters them, but it also gives an indication to other women that if she could do it, possibly I can. So I think one of the voices of reason in my head is keep talking about the women. And Nina and Megha's age group must have had it much tougher. They are the ones who dress themselves down so that they do not make people uncomfortable. The fact that Nina can actually smile and laugh about it means this was her reality. They are the ones who had to be aggressive, yet the aggression was so undertoned that they had to seem very amiable, especially in circumstances where they could have just pushed a little bit of elbow and got things done without wasting time. So that generation, in fact, today, look across every spectrum of women and you will suddenly find that's the young ones who have no problems in dressing up the way they want to, in having that extra gloss on their lips. But there is a generation of women before us who just got things done by keeping their heads low. And I think those are the women and their journeys that needs to also be articulated and spoken of. These are the women who just blended in the background so that one day they could just survive and succeed.
Yeah, no, and a round of applause for all the women. I feel like, they have paved the way for so many of us and embraced the challenges and, continue to pave the way for us. So huge round of applause and thank you for doing that. I do want to start by saying when I spoke to Mrs. Rani last week and I said, let's discuss on how this conversation is going to flow. She's like, Neha, jo puchna hai, puch lo. Let's go on stage and baat karte hain. I would say, ma'am, that is so refreshing. Because, a lot of times, I know I should be worried, I don't know, but I would say that is very refreshing because, in today's day and age, people are carefully curating their image by what, how they want to portray. And fairly enough, I think the world is not kind.
It's understandable when people do that because that means that their experiences are not wide enough for them to manage challenges as the challenge suddenly springs up on them. It takes a whole generation of work for one to gain that kind of confidence that, okay, you reach a time in your professional journey where you think that no matter what comes at me, I'll deal with it. If I can't deal with it, whatever happens as a consequence, which may be negative to my work product, can also be dealt with. But that's because you've gone from the trenches all the way up. And you are prepared to go all the way down and then come back up again. So once you've reached that part, you don't need to curate anything about yourself.
Yeah.
Because you've been a part of the big bats, you know that the accolades are very limited. At that point in your life, it just doesn't matter. You know how to handle it. But you have to be smart enough to know that when you're on the upswing, you need to be that conscious about it. So because I've gone too many times.
Yeah. And ma'am, what advice would you have for a lot of women who are trying to find
Never
their voice
listen to
and
advice.
speak the truth?
Never
What is your
listen to
journey? How
advice.
what built that confidence?
I mean, one of my sweetest conversation with Mr. Narayan at least had a heart attack. But then he had this twinkle in his eye and he said, tell Mr. Swami. So R.K. Swami BBDO, in fact, rejected me as a struggling person to say you're a bad actor. Which is fine. It happens to many people who go and audition. And then I became a character called Tulsi on television. And then R.K. Swami called me. And then I charged them double. So Mr. Swami was graceful enough to say, very well done. You should have done that. So I think that it is important to recognize that circumstances may not allow for your talent to be appreciated at a particular given point of time. That should not make you doubt your talent. That should not in any way muddy the waters of your engagement with that organization or that individual at that point of time. There are many people who would rather invest in winners. But there are some people who can see talent which is raw and then back you. Your perception of yourself, your contribution, should not be deterred in any way. I also feel that, I mean, when Nina and Megha were discussing what is the next step, The mothership is movies, right? Advertisers fall prey to a particular cycle, and that's because the client insists that this is selling. How do you define what is selling? Because some movie star, some movies set the tone. Then somebody in television followed its suit. Then somebody in the digital medium now is making tons of reels out of that one song. You can't tell people whose financial life depends on a particular piece of content that only make your own conscious the fulcrum of your entire activity. That is being not only being judgmental, that is being foolhardy. Not possible, especially when so many people are dependent on the financial success of the content. So I think that because I've seen all these facets, I do not feel that gender any longer is held hostage at many vantage points. I think that we as women today recognize what envelopes, what boundaries can be pushed. We recognize how much of ourselves we'll have to give up, but we also recognize how we can reorient ourselves around circumstances. So, like I said, I can today sit next to R.K. Swami and say, well, you didn't hire me. But that didn't end the relationship, the working relationship. I'm here today speaking at the Google office where there is YouTube content creators here. I have created nothing on YouTube. So if you look at my channel, barely anybody. That's because I've never spoken about it. That's because I'm so busy living life, I don't know how to create content around that life. And I've always been that one individual who's run between so many people, which means I'll have to now, at my juncture, at my age, reorient myself as to how content is to be created. So the one size fits all, that one advice somebody will give on stage and everybody will follow, not possible. Everybody's circumstances are different. Everybody's talent is different. Everybody's courage and vantage point is different.
And it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a journey we're all on. I'm going to shift gears a little bit to, we are living in a digital age. We've seen, India's digital revolution has been phenomenal over the past few years. And one of the things which we have observed as Google and YouTube is that it's opening up a world of opportunities for women, access to information, access to services, which they never had before. It's almost like helping create an equitable ground. But at the same time, there has to be intentional work to ensure that there is equitable participation of women. How do they actually tap into this growth and do more? And I know, ma'am, you've done a lot of grassroots level stuff.
You have democratized dreams and you have democratized aspirations. So it's not only about the gender mix. It's also about how many in, let's say, the rural parts of our country, in Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, are living their ultimate dream of being recognized because of your platform. The other part is how many of them have now satiated themselves with regards to the recognition and suddenly realize that there is money that can be made. The third vertical is people who know what kind of content can make what kind of money. And then it is their own personal moral compass that will then drive their journey forward. So I think that, do you expect everybody to be conscientious with regards to gender? Again, that would be very naive. What you as a platform can do possibly is to hold dialogues such as this so that more and more content creators become aware subconsciously about what they should keep in check. Because ultimately, we are not living in a communist or a socialist state. We need to recognize that there is a profit that organizations and individuals need to consider. So I think what is unique about this stage is your partnership with UNICEF. And I've had a body of work with UNICEF as well. Now, why is it important? One of our greatest challenges is emanated from the surface of how a child perceives issues of gender, how a child perceives issues of justice, how a child perceives issues of equity, or for that matter, how a child perceives how to pursue profit. So the combine is unique because if you look at, let's say, when the Nirbhaya rape took place, 2013, I still remember, I was a member of the opposition. And we were working towards a bill which is the Sexual Harassment at Workplace Bill in 2013. I was there speaking both for government and opposition, which is a very unique opportunity for any politician. Normally you get to speak for one side. I got to speak for all sides because there was unanimity on that subject, right? Now, one of the reports that came to me at that time was about how content is driving how young men perceive women to be. So do not in any way feel that the Voice of Change or this platform is only about creating new content which can talk about only women. Imagine the generation after you that you can impact if the right content reaches the right child. It impacts not only how young men perceive girls to be or women to be, it also impacts how young women think of themselves growing up. When you bring that into focus, suddenly a lot of your content changes, or suddenly a lot of your collaborations change. So my request would be the Voice of Change, if you're not going to the mothership next year, bring the kids in the mix, because there'll be no data available on kids. So even advertisers, if they want to sell a kid-based product, they always look at the female as a central figure of who consumes that content. But we forget that one of the biggest content consumers in our country digitally are children below the age of 18. Many people feel that, why call them children below the age of 18? But it's true cognitively, psychologically, you're still growing to come to a particular pass in life. Do look at that prospect as well. And suddenly you'll find content then changing.
No, I think that's so very true. In fact, we have seen that, of course, YouTube has democratized content creation. We've seen a surge in content
democratized
consumption.
content. And
creation.
That is where, no, you've democratized dreams. There's so many people who wanted just that little extra lipstick and a great outfit and sing or dance to a particular song.
Yeah.
There's so many female stand-up comics who are suddenly coming up. Some who are driven with genuinely good content. Some who would just like to abuse just to fit into the boys' gang. But the fact is, you're democratizing that. You're looking at as a professional from the platform. You're looking at from the content perspective. I'm looking at from a social perspective. That kid in a tier 3 city, tier 2 city would have never got FaceTime with an audience. You're giving them that.
Yeah, and we see a lot of creators actually from tier 1, tier 2 cities spring up, and their growth is definitely higher. And one of the interesting things, we did a survey, is that 80% of our creators actually say they want to use the platform to bring about positive change, which has been really humbling for us to see. And the other thing, ma'am, which what's happening in the space is we're also seeing content consumption is becoming participatory. So it's not just people are consuming content. They're actually engaging with the creators. They're creating content about the creators. So it's something called fandom, which is on the rise. And the Gen Zs, the youngsters, are actually big on fandom. They all have fans, YouTube creators.
I don't understand all these
They're fandoms,
how
so I'll
many
explain
Gs
it
and
to
how many
you.
S's are where. I'm possibly one of the last generations that has seen that transition.
And
both from a pre and post Google era.
It is probably going to continue, but
so no, I don't think there's a generation after me that has seen a pre-Google era. But I think that the conscientiousness of wanting to create socially relevant content, that also comes from conversations such as this. And let me just give you a small reason why. How many people would have been in this room at the Google main office if not for the Voice of Change? So when this message starts going out, that equity, respect for women can get you to the Google headquarters.
Yeah. No, it's so it's definitely something which we are committed to, and IAA is committed to, of how do we continue conversation with the creators, because they're open to wanting to create change. They have the
myself
base.
feel that the IAA has not leveraged its genuine potential. I mean, you're one of the most powerful bodies in the world. You can do things directly, indirectly, subtly, forcefully, because businesses with money are dependent on your creative genius. And it takes a different kind of genius to sell equity without people knowing that you're making them more equitable.
Yeah, kudos to that. What I'd say, ma'am, is that, Tulsi, I can't go ahead with this conversation without
No,
mentioning
that was my
Tulsi.
paycheck. Please go ahead.
I mean, that was an iconic
8 years being number one. Yep.
Yeah, iconic role. Like it redefined how.
I never measured it on any other substance except for two things. How much would an advertising contract get me? Seriously, no, I'm not kidding you. Because in 2001, for a television actor to ask for a binding contract and not have their content released beyond 1 year was unheard of. So when we used to sit on and I was one of the first ones, I was fortunate enough, there's a gentleman in the room who's dealt with me in that era. I can see him seated here. Now, when we began those negotiations, those are the kind of negotiations that only movie stars could have. For us to say, I will have this contract where you pay me this much money, but you cannot show my content beyond year one. And if you want to show it beyond year one, and if you want to refurbish the ad, you pay me more. When I began that kind of negotiation, people thought I was nuts. There has to be also an understanding of brands you have to let go to build a bigger brand. So I would never do a pan masala ad. I would never do those ads where a woman has to stand next to a guy selling banyan. No matter how big a hero is, I would not stand next to him. I would never do a aerated drink, which is actually a alcohol company's drink. Never do that. Why? Because I was very conscious of what children would think, what parents would think. Joint families were sitting, it was a single TV home. So I think that this one conversation that Voice of Change should have is also teach women how to commercialize and monetize and negotiate contracts. Women are very bad at it at times. Why? Because you're so hell-bent on the next step on your career curve that you would rather take a little bit less pay, rather negotiate financially to be a little less than the other guy, knowing that he's not as competent as you, just so you can get that name on the door. So I think that, and Nina would never react to this, but it's happened a lot. In the movie business, it has happened in the television business. And I think that females, irrespective whether they're content creators or just employees somewhere, let's teach all women to be good negotiators on contracts.
Yeah, absolutely. And, ma'am, you mentioned evolution. You've seen the media evolve, from the time of TV to now digital, and you've been a part of the ministry, you've led the ministry. How have you seen gender portrayal change over the years across media?
We have to recognize that everything in media is driven by profit. Media is not an NGO. It is, at the end of the day, something that employs lakhs of people in the country. So if you're looking at the fact that they are profiting from their positions, then you have to make these social changes profitable enough for them to let go of other opportunities where they could have leveraged it and done more damage to the issue of gender. It's as simple as that.
And what is the case for that profitability? Because there is profitability in representing.
It depends on the leader of that managing team. Completely. Some would cut corners only so that the balance sheet looks better. Some are conscientious enough to find or smart enough to find new opportunities of leveraging, let's say, financial prospects. It all depends on the experience. It all depends on the humaneness of the team leader.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
But somewhere, ma'am, I do feel it has to be intentional. We can't just expect the change
like I
to
said,
happen.
It is intentional to the extent that people don't know it is intentional. Because the minute you, let me juxtapose it with medicine, right? If your mother told you that the medicine you're about to consume is very bitter, would you consume it? Most of you have had that experience where your mother gives you something really bitter to have, but then she tells you how beneficial it is. Which means that intent to heal you is there. The transmission of what heals you may be bitter, but the end result is that you get better.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you mentioned. So I used to lead this program called Internet Sathi, where we took internet to women in rural India. And interestingly, the first few village visits, the men would not let me talk to the women. I had to talk to the men before they would say, okay, now you can talk to the women about, what is internet. And you're absolutely right. The conversation was not about, your women are not doing well. The conversation was, look, there's a new medium. Your family is going to benefit. Your community is going to benefit. And that's the larger picture you need to see rather than make it a very specific, women.
Because in many geographies, many communities, if you say, I'm trying to empower women, they'll be like,
Yeah.
That means she'll speak out. But if you show them the profit or the benefit to themselves, and they're okay. And there are many women we know in communities who are smart enough to say, he doesn't know I'm smart.
So what went behind, the creation of Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi
I
Bahu Thi?
have
That
no
was
idea.
very bang on, like, here is what it is. It was challenging the norms at that
No,
point
I
of
think
time.
that I have no idea why Ekta created what she created, but I do know that there came a time when I was writing stuff. So I remember there was this whole scene about the person who played my son. And I think messages happen on screen and off screen. So I had this huge male model walk in and played one of the characters there. And what I'm about to say will get me into deep trouble. But so I had this whole macho guy walk into the set. And I was I would read a book and not get into, I've never partied either in media or in politics because I believe as a woman, I don't need to glam up, go and hang with people that I actually have nothing to do with to get a job. Doesn't work that way. And I was, I think, lucky that I had colleagues who saw it that way. I had producers. I have other political colleagues who see it that way. So they know, kaam pe aayegi, ghar jayegi. So I had this macho guy come on set, and he thought that the only way to kind of, put a stamp on the fact that this is the macho guy who comes on set is that he's doing the scene with me where I'm supposed to slap him. And he's like, oh, come on, I can take it. And I was like, bhai sahab, don't. And he just kept insisting. And he kept insisting. And the director, who's known me like for 3-4 years, he was like, tell the guy, don't. And I realized that it was a power play. So I said, are you sure? He's like, yeah. I said, okay. Part. And then the guy, very well-known person, he just looked at me. I said, oh, I think we messed up. Should we shoot again? And the director by then was so cheesed off. He said, yeah, I think we should. So every man on the set knew that you don't have to physically mark your territory to show how superhuman you are amongst female colleagues. That was a message on our work set. And I think that in terms of creative content, the scene of that was written and sent to me that I was supposed to shoot when my son rapes his wife, who's going through a separation with him and is contemplating filing divorce. So the scene came to me, and it was about, मैं बर्बाद हो गई, मेरे बेटे ने क्या कर दिया, blah, 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 blah. I still remember I was at the airport, 12 in the night, catching an international flight, and I called Ekta. I said, there is no way I'm shooting this. She said, why? I said, because there are families watching. And if we want to convey to families that if a man and a woman decide to separate, then the man no longer can, treat that woman as his physical property. Even if they're in a marriage together, that woman is not his physical property. And I think a good half an hour went in me explaining that to her. And she said, fine, just write it the way you want it. And I did. And it became iconic. I said, the way to show love to a woman is not by forcing yourself on her, which I think was a powerful thing to do on television 15 years ago. That content didn't exist. So to say that 15, 18 years ago, And Ekta was like, damn it, we are going to get whacked for this. I said, no, you will have families after families accept it, trust me. And they accepted it. Families walked up to me and said, yeah, you're right. Parents walked up to me. So I think we need to recognize that not everything on television was very, very toxic. We found our ways and means of doing things. We did it very nicely without people even realizing. One of the scenes was about this older lady, Ba. She wanted to study. So he spoke about how an older woman should, why should she not get support in her family to complete her education? We did that. Never showed up on anybody's social meters that we've done all of this. But the fact is, if people were ready for it 18 years ago, imagine what they're ready for today.
And I mean, that's the transition that we're hoping to see, that there is more courage.
Content
There is more
writers have to
courage.
start speaking up.
Yeah.
They have to do it in those certain frameworks that they are given, things which actually make a lot of social sense, but also completes and fulfills their social obligation.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The subtle art is to get it done without people knowing it's happening to them.
Yeah, it's an art to be learned. And I guess, again, it's a journey. But you touched upon a point of there is something to say about responsible creation.
Yes.
Because right now, it's everyone's a creator, everyone's creating. What is your take on what is the right level of responsibility for creators, for platforms, for industry bodies to ensure that as content creation is happening and taking place, there is responsibility as a layer underneath
that there
it?
is a self-correcting mechanism that IAA has professed many a times. Television channels profess as unions, as organization. So I'm somebody also who's a union person from the media business. I've been in the writers union, in the producers union. I've been a part of the Allied Mazdoor union. So, I mean, there are various facets to unionization can help bring that discipline. And I believe that Voice of Change, the next time, get all the unions together, talk to them about how to impact gender. Because it's not only about content, it's also about women are treated at the workplace where content is created. So I believe that for me, what was important is, one, the self-discipline that our industry bodies have to manifest into how gender is portrayed. The second part is, when you crunch the data and the numbers, if your numbers show that content which is damaging vis-a-vis gender is generating a lot of money, then you are letting a genie out of the bottle that even IA can't put back. It's your numbers that are driving a lot of the madness. And it's such a vicious cycle that the finger pointing across is very easy. But the change has to be an amalgam of everybody's efforts. Because the advertiser is told by the client that numbers. The actor is told by the advertiser or the channel or the producer, numbers. So it's a vicious circle. If you start showing, let's say, that gender rich or gender just content makes a lot of money, suddenly you'll see.
Yeah, and I can tell you as a marketer myself, we have been actively portraying equity, and it has not hampered our
Just show that
metrics.
it makes
has
money
not
as well.
hampered our
And
numbers.
Just show that it makes money as well, and suddenly you'll see the swing.
Wonderful. I know a lot of people would like to also ask ma'am questions. So should we open up the floor for some questions?
Anybody, anything.
So we actually have a lot of questions, but keeping time in mind, we will take up 3 questions. So the
Are
first
they
one,
pre-decided, which are written? Okay.
no, screened alongside the chat. Partho, the first question. Yeah.
Partho has a mic.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask you, what's your thought on the way technology is evolving largely in terms of making technology work more for human values and human well-being, and reducing and minimizing the risk of increasing any inequalities in the society today?
It's a huge range of possibilities and expectations you have, Partho. I think if you look at it from a national context, one of the greatest gaps or lost opportunities is that content currently is available only in mainstream languages. That too, predominantly, technology is available in English and possibly a little bit in Hindi. We are a country of 16,000 dialects and 125 constitutionally recognized languages. But guess how many languages we have lost? 500. We've lost close to, we have endangered languages up to the number 500. So if we democratize linguistic skills and get more, we are losing a lot of our learnings, a lot of our repository, because the technology or the content is not available in that language. So greater good happens when repository of knowledge is widely shared. Imagine that whole repository dying. 500 languages is not a joke. So how many communities were speaking that language? How much of their cultural manifestation in that language today is lost because we have no content around it? So I think that in terms of becoming an enabler and adding value, if you want to socially add value, then make sure that the language of technology is democratized. The second aspect is that everybody is very gung-ho about AI. How many people know what AI is? So we are pushing conversations on AI without the larger audience actually understanding what AI is all about. We have to prepare a lot of people for a lot of technology. They all see just the Sam Altman kind of conversations, right? They don't realize how much of content creators will die because of that. So how much of your individual creativity stays alive, because AI feeds off everything that it's reading off the world, right? Even the original content that you're creating. How many of our people are actually aware of whether content goes to die at the altar of AI?
Yeah, I just add, ma'am, I think, from a language perspective, in fact, that's where I feel like AI really comes to play a part, is working with Bhashini, IISc, where we're collecting dialects from
creating Bhashini
across the country.
So that's why I had the privilege of creating it. And as Minister Minority, I was also leading the effort for linguistic minorities in the country. And that is why I'm saying how much there is one aspect of language which is technology based. There is one aspect about language which is your linguistic proficiency, and then you can convert that culture from language to, let's say, platform it. Any Bengali in the room? But to Bengali to? Theek. So Bengalis will know when you eat chutney, that tells you which part of Bengal you're from. Correct? If you eat it in the beginning, you're from the east. If you eat it in the end, you're from another part of Bengal. Now, you'll not find it anywhere. This information... No, it depends on... Yeah, but this information... But this information, let's say, about our culture would not manifest itself till you have that conversation. That conversation can only be had if you've lived that culture. So when we talk about, let's say, Bhashini, when we talk about language, we are talking about the surface. But what I'm talking about is the deep-rooted, let's say, Parsis. How many of you, any Zoroastrian here? Yes. How many of you know what is the juxtaposed position between Parsis and Agnihotra Brahmins? Only Nina would know. Now, there is a similarity between two. How many of you know that their nariyals has a swastik on it? Could you ever imagine Parsis and Zoroastrians having nariyals, which they use for their so-called puja, with swastiks on it? These are people who came from Persia, from Iran. How many of you know that Zoroastrians and Iranis are two different things? So, one is knowing the language. Second is knowing what is known history. The third is this thing that is now got lost. So how much of our content creation then goes in preserving these nuances of culture.
Absolutely.
So if you look at culture, and I think Megha is giving the indication that wrap it up, we have to go to the next session. So, sorry, I seem to have eyes everywhere. Yes, go ahead.
We were
I'm
listening.
speaking so much, they've turned your mic off. Huh?
They turned my mic off because they don't want me to speak, only you. But our next question, but honestly, all of us are listening with rapt attention to every word that comes out
all
your
the
mouth.
content creators, ma'am, I've seen across the room are taking notes. I'm sure I'll see some content very soon.
I think you are the AI in the room right now because you are giving all the answers. Okay, so Neena Das Gupta had a question. So
it's been fascinating listening to the conversation, and what I hear also a lot is that you're looking at the entire stereotype thing from a ground root level, from a grassroots level, from the people's eyes. Now tell me, if you imagine a situation where we change the stereotype ad, where we see a man in a kitchen probably putting dinner together, maybe not necessarily frying puri, but cooking dinner together, and the wife sitting on the sofa reading out a paper she has written for work to him, and a nice banter, and then coming, it's an oil ad, and then coming and sitting together to eat and say healthy living, whatever. Do you think the consumer will stop trusting the brand? Or do you think it's the market?
I think it's already being done by advertisers. I don't think this is a new intervention. I mean, I've seen an Akshay Kumar, I think, somewhere selling some oil or doing some belan and roti chakla thing somewhere.
See, you're having to try and remember. I'm saying
No, the issue is that how balancing the gender bias? Is that how it suffices? Just having a man in the kitchen doing some ad for 30 seconds? I think that what advertisers can do, in fact, is help fund more ground activation efforts, which can actually, let me give you a very small example. I think Neena or Megha spoke about Havas, right? Yeah. So one of the projects that Havas needed help with is about spending money to get girls in volleyball in Assam. Now, I fund 2 such uniforms for 2 such female teams. And one of the challenges we had about, which I heard from Mr. Abhijit Bhattacharya, who was the Indian volleyball captain, was that they said that in the menstruating age, these girls can't go out and play volleyball. It's hogwash. So an agency like Havas is, and I and Abhijit, we all sat together. Now, that has nothing to do with an ad. It is also to do with when an agency can bring like-minded people together off projects also to help. That is how you can help. So if we limit ourselves, that's why I said that the IAA has not leveraged its potential fully, because you have so much of power to just get people who talk and mean well together under one umbrella in one room. Havas will not profit from it at all. It is just helping 2 girls volleyball teams to get a uniform.
Than the kitchen example, of course, is again saying that, does the consumer truly actually get affected? Would they have thought that these girls are menstruating age?
No, it helps. My 2 teams are from Dhubri in Assam, and now they have 10,000 kids playing like that. And none of them get advertised, right? It's happening only in rural Assam. Abhijit is doing it. And he just goes from one person to another, whoever knows whoever, helps fund the volleyball, let's say the ball itself, or the uniform. So the issue is, when you talk about change, right, is it change that you can only see in a conclave? Or are you also helping people network to drive change at the grassroots? So there is a part, let's say, where the first ad I ever did was for Whisper. Whisper had no clue when they interviewed me as a minister. I reminded them that, you were one of my first paychecks. But I did it 25 years ago, when anybody with the right mind would never do a menstrual pad because their careers would die then and there. But we did it then. There was an agency which wanted to do it then. They were not finding actors. So it's circumstantial. But do you lose the fact that you want to impact the issue of gender on every opportunity you get? If you don't, there are many avenues. Okay.
I think we've run out of time.
No question.
Lots of questions, too many actually, some of my own as well, but I'll keep them. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think a lot of great perspectives.
I think a thought-provoking session, to say the least. I love the way you started. You know, women should not question their own talent, just dependent on the circumstances, and about bringing kids into the mix. Everything. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our chief guest for today. I'd request you to stay on stage. We'd like to present a memento. Request Miss Megha Tata and Miss Neena Ilavia Jaipuria to please join us and present a small token to say a big thank you to you for joining us today. We'd like to present a token of our gratitude to our chief guest, Srimati Smriti Rani, and of course our moderator for our first session, Neha Barjatia, Marketing Director, Google. I'd also like to tell you a little something about the memento that we're gifting today. It's called the Plated Project. Buy a plate, fill a plate. It's founded in the year 2019. The Plated Project consists of limited art edition pieces crafted by global artists that feeds the hungry. So their adversary is hunger, but their crusader is art. Let's have a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the absolutely incredible Srimati Smriti Rani. And a big thank you to you, Neha, for steering that session so well. What a wonderful start to the third edition of IAA Voice of Change. Thank you so much. I love that bit about getting us women to learn how to negotiate our contracts better, you know. I think everyone can resonate with that. So much to take away from our first session, ladies and gentlemen. Well, the genesis and the continuous momentum of the IAA Voice of Change movement would not have been possible without our knowledge partner, UNICEF. UNICEF, we all know, is a global driving force and an advocate for gender equality and equity. UNICEF has partnerships across education, empowerment, advocacy, policy change, amongst others, to initiate and accelerate effective change. To tell us more, in fact, much more, it is truly my pleasure and privilege to welcome Gitanjali Master, Partnership Specialist, Public and Private Sector Engagement, Resource Mobilization Sector, UNICEF, Delhi. A warm welcome to you. We look forward to hearing from you.
Hi, everyone. A very, very good afternoon. And after listening to you, ma'am, I think it's already set the stage in the way that it should have. So thank you so much. And also thank you so much for mentioning the partnership between the International Advertising Association and UNICEF, because it's really been a journey with a lot of learning, I think, every day. So I think much has been said, but I did want to actually also step back a little bit and go to the foundation. And, you know, we are speaking about stereotypes and we are speaking about media. And I think I'm just going back to what, you know, Smriti ma'am said a while ago as she was speaking about where is the root of it all? And I think I would like to talk about gender socialization. You know, the socialization that we all have on gender starts fairly young. And I think it's from the time we are possibly born to, it keeps evolving, different stages of our life, and of course, quite rampant in adolescence, and then it grows. And I think that's where, you know, I would like to focus a little bit, because I think sometimes there are the effects of gender socialization which also show us a number of challenges, right? And those challenges manifest in different ways. They manifest in barriers to education, they can manifest in some sort of violence, they can manifest in early marriages, they can manifest in less opportunities for girls. But those gender socializations that happen manifest in these ways, and they seem challenging, but then the larger impacts they have are even sometimes more grave. And I think that was mentioned in the conversation that just happened by ma'am, as she mentioned also that, it leads to what? It leads to many, many girls not getting equal opportunities to get skilled, to get trained, maybe not have equal opportunities to get the right jobs, to express themselves more openly, to share more openly. And I think that is where, we understand that there are speed breakers and blocks. So given this background, UNICEF also understood as we work across India in so many states that when we know this backdrop, and when we speak to young people, when we speak to women, girls, boys, men, we also understood that, we have been understanding that there are so many agents that make gender socialization happen. How do we understand about boys and girls when we are much younger? There are different agents that help us do that. There are parents, there are communities, there are peers, our educators in school. And one big piece is obviously the media and advertising, right? And that's something that we also understood as we went back and we would speak to communities. I could give examples of, a young girl, for example, sharing, and right now I'm just speaking about media and advertising, when we would go into the remotest parts, and I still remember in Madhya Pradesh, really in a small village, speaking to this young girl, realizing that media and advertising sometimes can have very, very positive and reinforce stereotypes, and sometimes it can challenge stereotypes both ways. And I remember this this young girl talking to me about how did it challenge stereotypes, because she did talk about an ad that she had seen on pads, sanitary pads, right? And she saw a girl running and doing whatever she had to, and she was like, that's not what we're told. That's not what it's supposed to be like. Is it like this? And obviously one understood that that influences them, right? And then on the other hand, you meet somebody who says, and this was an older woman, who started to also talking about an ad, but there it was reinforcing a stereotype, where she shared her sort of story and told us that, it's wonderful. I see many ads. And when we asked her to recall one ad that she remembered, she said, there was an actor who came in and he was showing how a woman is cleaning the house or part of the house, right? And with what she should clean it. So obviously in her mind, it was right. It was the way it should be. But in many ways, it was restricting her to that part of the house. So when we then further questioned and asked her, we said, so tell us that, do you think this is the best way, or do you think something else is also what you would like to be? She said, yes, I've also seen ads where women, or movies or things where women are also doing other things, but we don't move in that direction. That's not what I think of. So one realizes and understands that media has such a huge impact. And it was then that we actually said with the Gina Davis Institute that given there's so much conversation happening, can we also get some real-time evidence? And that's when in 2020, UNICEF initiated this work with the Gina Davis Institute and the International Advertising Association India to do the baseline, as Nina and Megha had mentioned. And what we found was, as they mentioned, of course, a little disturbing, but also quite, interesting, because what came through was that women were prominently featured in ads. They were prominently featured. They were the Voice, the C. Jane test. These were all passed. When we came to the nuances is when we realized that there is obviously inequities, right? Because the women were being portrayed and shown in certain settings, with certain occupations, how they dressed and how they looked. The same things for men were totally different, right? So that kind of was fairly stark. And those conversations actually led to our journey, and you've heard about the journey through Megha. But I'd just like to say that, that was the point where we said that, yes, this is where we want to begin the journey, and we co-created the Voice of Change in 2021. This is the third summit. We're delighted. But also, really now thinking on the drawing board, what are the next steps? How do we take this forward? And I just, do want to mention just 3 or 4 things that actually came to our mind when we have been speaking with IAA and how UNICEF is going to continue to work with them. The first one is going deeper, right? We understood that there are many states, and we've of course been in the metros, etc., but there has to be conversation with those content creators in, say, a Bareilly, in a Mao. It's like there are people who want to create content and they are creating content. How can we have conversations with them, right? The second is also, I think that was mentioned earlier, was younger voices, right? How are we getting those voices included? We met the YLAC, 2 team members here today. Kavita and I were chatting with them before. And very interesting to see how the young leadership, is coming together. So what about those young people in communities which are mostly not getting opportunities to come out and speak up and find avenues? They would love to create content. How can we involve them? The third one I did want to mention was, women, girls living with disabilities. There are a lot of girls and, of course, boys, and those children and younger people, and we've met a number of those girls, living with special needs, and how can they be engaged also to give their thoughts and views on content creation as well? Because they are engaged and they are involved. And in the settings that they are in, in smaller places as well, how do we get those, involved? The fourth one I'd like to mention is evidence. So the baseline was done in 2020, and we have to do a midline and then forward to see if the needle is actually moving. We've discussed these forums, the road shows, the summits, but the evidence talks and the data talks. And so, yes, we are going to initiate a midline very soon, again with the International Advertising Association over the next month maybe. And we look forward to those findings to see if any of our work in the campaign has really shifted a little bit or no. And finally, did want to talk about, again, what ma'am had mentioned, the role of boys and men. What is the role of boys and men in this? When the content is being created, as was mentioned, yes, by women, yes, they come forward and they create content. What is the role and the conversation that's also happening with men and boys? And a really interesting insight that was given now was about showing them the value. So also, when we show them the value through numbers, as was mentioned, or through, what it will also help them with in the future is something that we should really look at. So these are the 5 sort of pillars that UNICEF will continue to work on with IAA and other partners, and we look forward to the journey. Thank you.
I'd love for you to remain back on stage. I can get that mic for you. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, and of course, UNICEF's commitment to this cause, the IAA Voice of Change. I'd like to request Ms. Megha Tata and Ms. Neena Jaipuria to please join us on stage to present a small token of gratitude to Gitanjali Master. Absolutely lovely. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. That makes for a lovely photograph. The 3rd edition, ladies and gentlemen, it's all happening here. Let's have a big round of applause. Thank you so much once again, ma'am. So before we conclude with this wonderful inaugural session, we'd like to honor some extraordinary individuals in our midst, and we like to call them our gender warriors. These are really those amongst us who have harnessed the power of media, advertising, marketing, and digital to drive meaningful change towards gender equality. Now it is these remarkable individuals who have worked tirelessly to break down stereotypes and, of course, break down barriers, using their platforms to amplify inclusive narratives. So to do the honors, it is my privilege to welcome back to the stage our chief guest for today, Srimati Smriti Irani, along with Mr. Srinivasan Swami, Ms. Megha Tata, and Ms. Neena Jaipuria. We'd also like to request our ManCom member and past president, also recipient of the Gender Warrior title himself, Mr. Ramesh Narayan, founder Canco Advertising, to join us to present these awards. A warm welcome to you, ma'am, sirs. I think we should have a picture right in the beginning, just of all of you. Just one second. So let me begin. Our first gender warrior joining us has been a true champion of gender equality in the advertising and media landscape. Leading initiatives that challenge outdated stereotypes, he has been instrumental in making inclusivity a central theme in how brands communicate. So please welcome our first gender warrior, CVL Srinivas. I'd like to tell you he's played a key role in reshaping how gender is portrayed across campaigns, making strides towards a more balanced and empowering representation in media. And today, we're here to recognize his invaluable contributions to fostering a culture of respect, diversity, and equality within our industry. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We have with us CVL Srinivas. I love the way we have woohoo, which is a universal term of acceptance and celebration, right? Can we all say it together? Woohoo! Our first gender warrior here. Please say a few words. Could we have a mic? Congratulations, and we'd love to hear from you. Please join us.
Thank you, IAA. I accept this humbly on behalf of all my wonderful colleagues at WPP who, through their craft, are doing their very best to ensure that we can bring about some amount of behavior change. I know we have a long way to go as a company, as an industry, as a society, but I think my wonderful colleagues are doing their bit. And like was spoken earlier, I think before we go out and try and influence the world, I think there's a lot each of us can do to just set our own house in order. So I also wish to thank a lot of my colleagues, many of whom are in the room today, who tirelessly work on a lot of initiatives so that we as a company are a responsible corporate citizen. Thank you.
Thank you so much and congratulations, sir. Thank you. So our next gender warrior here today is a distinguished photojournalist and visual storyteller whose work has made a profound impact on human rights and gender issues. Her powerful images featured in National Geographic, Time and the New York Times bring dignity to marginalized communities while challenging societal norms. Please welcome the one and only Smita Sharma. Big round of applause. A warm welcome to you. I'd like to tell everyone that her projects span critical topics from girls' education in Kenya to child marriage in Nepal and sex trafficking in South Asia. They've been exhibited worldwide, including at the United Nations. It's through her lens that she advocates equality, making her a true champion for change. A big round of applause, Smita Sharma. And we'd love to hear from you. So could we have the mic? Yeah, the mic's here. We know, of course, that a picture says 1,000 words, but we actually want to hear from you. So
my work is about visual communication, but today I'm going to talk. And I'm going to share a story about my own life. In 2018, I became pregnant, and we were thrilled. And when I went to the doctor and we discussed the entire thing, she got horrified because I was working on sex trafficking and I was working in the cross-border areas because I was documenting trafficking of girls from Bangladesh, Nepal to India. And she told me, ask Nat Geo to give you an assignment to shoot flowers. You should give up this work. And she advised my husband, ask her to go home and rest. And then I asked her one question. Don't women from the underprivileged communities have children? Then why should I be treated differently? And then she told me, you'll understand when you have the child. So, I'll just fast forward. I didn't listen to her. I changed my doctor. I convinced my husband. I took my mother with me. I traveled to Bangladesh. I went to all the border areas. I went to red light areas. I went for rescue operations. I worked till the 8th month of my pregnancy. And then the story came out in National Geographic magazine as a 26-page story, which is a big deal. And it created ripple effect. So I think the change starts from our own homes. If we don't fight our own battles, we have no right to tell others what they should do. So thank you, because because I work behind the lens, we are not often seen, and our job is very lonely. So I am very, very honored to be here among this august company, listening to the stories, and I'm so honored and grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
We're honored to have you here with us. And the first thing that ma'am spoke about women telling their stories, so that every woman, every person in the audience can hear what you've done and feel inspired and feel that if you can do it, we can do it too, and inspire us. So thank you for bringing her words to life. Thank you for telling us your story. A big round of applause for our gender warriors, ladies and gentlemen, their dedication, their resilience. Yes. Please join us. Oh, no, keep it with you. I can hold. We'd love to have the... Yeah. Yes, we'd love that. You are our gender warrior. Let's put it out there. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for their unyielding spirit. They have not only influenced industries, but have also touched the lives of countless people. These are the change makers, the visionaries, ladies and gentlemen. They're driving the change that we wish to see in the world. And with that, it's a wrap for our inaugural session. So a big round of applause, of course. It's been a wonderful start to the day. And before we move on, I'd like to take this moment to thank our partners for their support in championing our cause. Our presenting partner, of course, Google and YouTube. Associate partner. It's meant to be an earth-shattering kind of day, so it's fine. You know, when you're breaking the bias, there's going to be some noise. So. Ladies and gentlemen, our first panel discussion today delves into a topic that is not only relevant, but it's also very essential in today's digital landscape. We're talking about conscious creativity in digital content. We, of course, began this day talking about the responsibility that we all wield, we all have as creators, as influencers, to shape narratives that are balanced and equitable, that are sensitive. So in a world where media can reach millions in an instant, the responsibility of fostering thoughtful, impactful, and meaningful content has never been more important. We have some esteemed panelists joining us shortly, and in this session, we'll explore the journey of our panelists in the digital space and how technology has empowered them. The unique challenges, of course, that women creators face and how digital platforms are driving positive change for women through tools, programs, and initiatives that champion diversity, inclusion, and equity. I was like, you can't break biases without making some noise, so let's make some noise. Let's have a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the day so far. I'd now like to proudly welcome our moderator, Ishwari Deshpande, Head of YouTube Ads Marketing and Industry Advocacy. A big thank you to our chief guest, Srimati Smriti Irani, for joining us and for sharing her thoughts and her journey. Thank you so much, ma'am. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. And with that, could I invite our moderator? A warm welcome to you. Let me get to the side and get out of your way. And now to our panelists who will be joining us and sharing their insights. You can please take a seat. So first up, known for her creativity and authenticity, our panelist is a leading figure in the digital space, using her platform to inspire and entertain while pushing the boundaries of conscious storytelling, which is the key word today, across the day, conscious storytelling. Please welcome Gautami Kavale. I hope I got that right. And joining us next, a warm welcome with expertise in content strategy and strategic collaborations. She's been instrumental in enhancing accessibility and audience engagement in the digital space. Janki Amrit. Please correct me if I... Okay. Oh, it is Amrite. Janki Amrite. She's Associate VP Content Syndication and OTT Partnerships, Pocket Aces. And our last but not the least panelist in this panel is a prominent Indian beauty and fashion influencer recognized for her engaging content and significant impact in the digital space. Shreya Jain. A warm welcome to you. You're looking fabulous. All of you, stunning. It's over to you, Ishwari.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if everyone needs a break. We've seen the room empty out. So do we want to give ourselves 5 minutes so we can have people in the room as the speakers speak?
I think we can carry on. They'll be back in a few moments, and I think people will take their breaks when needed. What do you say, ma'am? Or would you like to take a conscious break?
Okay.
But we can pull it up if you like, but we'll then have a long session after.
Yeah.
We have lots of speakers coming up.
Yeah. No, so no worries. Let's get started. People will walk back in.
All right. Okay.
We'll round them up, I think.
Okay, super. So thank you everyone for being here. I'm Ishwari. I have the privilege of leading YouTube's ad marketing charter for Google in India. And I'm very excited to speak to all of you. I know we've been chatting a little bit through the last couple of days, and it's been really nice to hear, your stories, your journeys, how you've started. I think what I loved about what Smriti ma'am said was the fact that technology today is not just democratizing access to content, but it's actually democratizing dreams. So I think I'm going to steal that one with pride and use it when we talk about our platforms and about the ability for technology to give everyone a voice and give everyone the option of having a voice. At YouTube, we're very privileged to actually see this come to life every day, right? It's a platform that's given many a creator the opportunity to earn, to learn, to build sustainable businesses, irrespective of their language, their literacy levels, where they're from, their gender, and I think all of you embody that absolutely beautifully. And we'd like to, delve a little into some of those aspects as we speak about responsible creation today. It's like preaching to the choir if I tell you that YouTube is a platform for self-expression, online particularly. We've had some fantastic visionaries on the platform who've actually given a voice to communities worldwide. And I'll take a couple of examples from India. So Usha Nimbarkar is actually a Marathi actress who's now giving a platform to other Marathi creators to come up on the platform. We've had Tetsio sisters from Nagaland who've given a voice to that community through their music. We have Pushparani Sarkar who's come out from the villages in Bengal to talk about cooking there. We've got the village community channels that are up there. We've got agri-creators. So there's all kinds of people on our platform. And just like them, you all have carved your own unique paths of using the platform and putting the you in YouTube. So first, we thank you for that. Thank you for putting the you in YouTube. Shreya, I want to start with you because I know you started your journey back in 2010.
Yeah, it's been a long while.
It has been a long time when, this entire world was very new to most people. So what prompted you to be a creator and how have you sort of evolved your voice over the years?
Basically, it was honestly out of boredom. I discovered YouTube as a kid and I didn't have a lot of friends. I was, you can say, one of those persons in school who was bullied a lot. So I was looking for a community and I had no clue this would ever evolve into what it has today. So obviously with that, there were a lot of changes that had to come in the way you speak and what you're talking about, and again, being responsible as a creator. So that was a nice evolution, but honestly, it was just purely out of boredom and just wanting to find a community.
Fantastic. And then, you've not let us be bored after that. So kudos to you. Gautami, you're part of a duo that creates content for Gen Zs, which in my mind is an uphill task because staying relevant means being on your toes all the time for this generation specifically. So walk me a little bit through, how you and Abhi sort of came up with the concept of Slaypoint, how you started on the platform, and a little bit about your journey.
So I make entertainment videos along with a friend of mine, and so basically he's a guy, I'm a girl, so we kind of balance it out there. But initially how it began was that him and his the group of male friends, they wanted to make content about cricket and football and stuff like that. And but they were too shy to be on camera, and I was the person in school who took part in all of the debates and things like that. So they just brought me on to be the face of the channel, and they would tell me what to say, and I would just like say it. And that's how we basically began. Eventually it was just now the two of us remaining, how we work. But you know, through that journey as well, because it was a female talking about cricket and sports, the kind of comments that we got showed us a lot about how people view, you know, women in such spaces.
Yeah.
And of course, like always questioning my knowledge of, say, sports and this whole, and the way that they used to address me also, and especially if a video was bad, somehow the blame would be on me. So that's where we would see that, okay, the youth is watching us, and that somewhere is a big responsibility. This is the foundational age where major your kind of thinking patterns set into place.
Right.
So from now on, we will take a conscious decision to not just blindly follow a trend, because blindly to follow a trend and say, speak about a topic because everyone's speaking negatively about a
Yeah.
certain thing, that should not be done. And I'm really thankful to Abhyuday as well, who makes videos with me. Whenever he sees that something like this is happening, he will consciously put me forward. Like if he's seeing that, say, somebody is addressing the both of us, but they're talking to him like he owns the channel, like he is responsible for the financial decisions and I'm not, he will just look at me and he'll say, show them who's the boss. And he will be quiet for the entire meeting. He will let me take charge and like just show them. So, and that's what we do in our content as well. Because what happens is we do comedy, right? So whenever a joke is bad or a video doesn't perform well, or somehow everyone says that it's because of me. And if a joke is really good, they assume that he's written it. So I don't know how I become the writer when it's bad, and oh, I don't write at all when the video is good. So that's how, you know, we see all of this and we consciously try to tell people that this is not how it is. We work equally and kind of always strive to put that message out there.
Interesting. So maybe we should give Abhyuday a round of applause for being the voice of change. So Abhi, if you're seeing this, whenever you do, please know we're very grateful. How many of you are consumers of, you know, DICE or or a part of the 50 million people who actually get touched by Pocket Aces on a daily basis? Because if you're not, then you're really missing out on something fun. So Janki, talk to us a little bit about what's the thought process when you all put content out for so many different kinds of audiences on so many platforms, and how do you, you know, sort of pull it all together, and what's your thinking as Pocket Aces when you create so much digital content?
Right. So as a company, I think our mission is to create content, engaging content for the youth. So whether it's entertainment, whether it's infotainment, whether it's lifestyle, we are catering to the youth. So across our channels, whether it's Dice Media, Filter Copy, Nutshell, Gobble, our conscious effort is to ensure that we constantly break those stereotypes.
Yeah.
And, you know, consciously put out positive content. I think that process is more, it starts from the creation and it needs to be monitored there. So when we put together creator rooms or writer rooms, we ensure there's a fair bit of participation. Like every writer's room, I think there's a woman there, right? So it's not like males are writing female characters, or in fact, we have a reverse problem where we have majority of the writers are women. We have a woman director. So we have shows that we've done where like Adulting Property has been an extremely popular 3-season property where it's written by women, it's directed by women, it's edited by women. It has no reference of any romantic arcs with the two youngsters. So it's very likely to, you know, it's very easy to put a romantic arc, right? But there is just so much more that you can explore.
Yeah.
So I think very consciously we do that, and it's done at a company level. So even when we get creative folks on board, it's like all like-minded people, right?
Yeah.
Because writing is from within. So if you believe like in that philosophy, the company's philosophy, it's only then you can bring that.
Right.
So I think we monitor that process. we only work with people who want to safeguard this and push that boundary a little. I think that's been our process, and eventually that kind of translates. And very rightly, I think Smriti ma'am said that, the numbers. So if you can deliver success, brands will stand by you, everybody will stand by you. So it's like, I mean, if we've had brand support, things like we worked with Amphi for a mutual fund campaign, right?
Yeah.
And that bit was advocated by the female character in the show. And when she's talking about mutual funds, which generally, like a financial sector, nobody would want to give it to a woman, right? But she's the the spokesperson for that bit, and it's discussed within the family. So it's very subtle representation, and I think that kind of, at a very subconscious level, kind of makes all of us like push towards that.
Interesting. The other aspect that I really want to touch upon is just the democratization of content and the representation of women, right? So at YouTube, we're very conscious about the way that we go about this. And we've seen creators of all kinds come onto our platform and thrive on our platform. And we make sure that we take representation very seriously, both internally as well as externally. So Shreya, I want to actually start with you because, the kind of content that you create is around beauty, makeup, where stereotyping content and stereotyping the way women can be portrayed, the chances are much higher. So over the years, how have you stayed true to what you love putting out there and authentic to your voice, but also making sure that you're responsible in the way you talk about women in your content and represent them in your content?
I feel like it's very easy to stereotype what I talk about, which is makeup and beauty. And it's very easy to say, oh, sirf, they're doing just makeup. Like, what's the big deal in that? Like, it's not something to be, to talk about or just be proud about as well. And it's very easy for it to look also very female dominant, which it's not when you talk about it as a career, because you talk about top makeup artists, be a Mickey Contractor or a Sonic. They've all been men. So to be able to get into that industry and being taken seriously while talking about makeup is very, very difficult. I still remember back in the day, I used to do a couple of vlogs here and there, and I talked about how I was going to like Delhi University and I was doing sociology, and there were comments like, oh, so you're intelligent as well. Like, wow, that's a surprise. And I was like, how is that correlated? And why can't they be mutually exclusive things? They don't need to be tied up together. So over the years, what I've also tried to do is I've also tried to talk about how makeup is not just, to just enhance yourself, which of course it is, but it's also a multi-billion-dollar industry. How it's a huge business, how it's also how it's given so many women the empowerment that they need, not only when they apply makeup, but also when they're working in that sector, when it comes to manufacturing, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to being modeling for them as well. So talking about all of those aspects and also tying in how our society and makeup has been an integral part of it since forever is very, very important to me. I talk about it as much as I can actually, and I really, it's a very big passion project of mine where I like to draw parallels of how it's always been there in our society and how we need to also look at it as a more serious form of self-expression and not just something that women do to hide their insecurities.
So think of it as art.
Yeah, think of it as, you don't need to particularly think of it as just art. Even if I am trying to hide my insecurities, it's my choice. It's my, it's just something that I can have the freedom to do so. A lot of times, again, it's also not just the men who are stereotyping, it's the women as well who want to be like, oh, I don't do so much makeup. I don't know how you can do it every day and still be okay with it. It's also how it's internalized in a lot of women's brain that doing makeup is inherently a bad thing, or taking care of yourself. It's not just makeup, right? It's skincare. It's also dressing up for yourself. It's inherently taught to us that, oh, these are frivolous things. You don't need to do these things on an everyday basis. And again, when you talk about advertising, it's always shown, oh, ek ladki saj savar ke baiti hui hai, so this is going to be a nice person to go out with. It goes both ways. And it's very important to talk about how it's a choice if you want to do it, if you don't want to do it, and how it's okay to find happiness in it as well.
Interesting. Just taking on from that, right, Janki, you talked about all the different kinds of content you create across your different platforms. You also work with brands very closely in doing, specific branded content collabs. Have you ever faced any challenges? Because I know that, a lot of your characters are very strong, and they're very strong female characters, and they're very real characters, right? Like Renuka Shani as the empowering mother-in-law, for example, in your series. How do brands react to characters like that? And have you ever had any issues or pushback from them in creating a certain type of content?
I think brands understand numbers. So if you can deliver on that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to give an example. Like if for example, Delhi Crime, right?
Yeah.
It's a mainstream show. It did numbers. It did very well. So it works. But if you have to go sell that script on paper, oh, it's a woman-oriented. A woman is the main protagonist. Then there are there are no known characters and all of that, right? So once it delivers on numbers, it's easier to get to build that trust.
Right.
So I think you don't know if whether the egg is first or the chicken is first, right? I mean, it's like that. So we have to ensure, like even when we are doing that, when we are building these strong characters, we still ensure that we deliver on numbers, we make it mainstream, it is relatable, it is still, it's not like we're talking about doing some heroic women, right?
Yeah.
But we are talking about reality women, right? Who are represented well and equally, right? So I think if that can deliver numbers, brands are willing to back you. And we've actually had very positive instances where brands have stood by us. Say, for example, I'd like to give an Hyundai example where it's a travel show, right? And the couple goes on a road trip.
Yeah.
Very subtly throughout the trip, 50% of the times or more than that, the woman is driving, right? So it's done very subtly. It's delivered on numbers, but you are still making that, comment.
Yeah.
So I think we need to do it smartly, still deliver. Like it's a lot of things, a combination of all of it. Of course, I mean, there will be certain brands who would say that this doesn't work. This will, like, the men pay for it, or they drive that. So, this is targeted towards men. We want the male protagonist. So that does happen. But it's about, finding a fine balance between both.
Interesting. Gautami, the content that Abhi and you put up is actually influencing the next generation of consumers, right? It's talking to Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, and I know that because my Gen Alpha daughter watches a lot of your content. So what is the strategy that the two of you adopt in making sure that you're representing women in the right way, or that you're representing, people irrespective of their gender and caste and language in a certain way that influences the youth positively?
Well, the first thing is that we check on each other a lot whenever we write content, because there are perspectives and a way that he's lived life that I can't see, and the way that I have lived life that he can't see. So the first step is always that. And after that, it's like comments and people who tell us. So initially, when we started, the first reaction to someone who looks like me was to call me like the worst racial slur possible, because like my curly hair and stuff like that. So not only are you sexist, but you're racist as well. Like, great.
Yeah.
But the key there was to keep showing up. And, even if people are like, your curly hair is this and that, like, don't straighten it. Be there. Why is this girl trying to be funny? Maybe this channel is his and she's just there for glamour. Or she's not pretty enough to add glamour, so why don't you change the girl? So to still be there and say, this is my channel, like I make content here, so I'm not replaceable here. This is not an option. Like this channel exists because I am here too. So to just constantly just be there and not back down is one great thing that I didn't know would help people. Then I started getting messages saying, we see you on screen and we see you since so many years and not once did you straighten your hair. Now I'm confident about it. You go out there and you still crack jokes and you're still there. in such a male-dominated space, when we see you hang out with other YouTubers, it's mostly men, unfortunately, but you're still there and you talk, and in a room full of men making jokes, you don't like just step back and let them take over. They're like, we see you, we see you. So I think that one thing itself makes me
Yeah.
really happy. And apart from that, I have studied psychology. And obviously, women growing up don't even have to study. Like, we hear so many things and so many things happen to us. I mean, the other day, somebody sent me a text saying that their grandmother shamed them for wearing perfume to school. And it ties back to what you were saying, right? When people wear lipstick, it's not to attract boys or men or, you know, things like that. So all of these things, they keep coming to us as
Yeah.
feedback. So whenever we make jokes, we like make sure that it does not have that angle ever. If
Right.
I'm talking about like fashion, say like we had this video where we were commenting about like people wearing weird clothes and fashion. So I was like, but we're talking about fashion, so we'll keep it to that. We will not shame a woman per se for showing skin or not showing skin. That's not the point of this video. Like the
Right.
point of this video is maybe somebody's wearing a table fan as a dress. So that's funny. Let's crack a joke about that. But let's not care about who's wearing it and why, and is it a guy or a girl, or if they're showing skin or not. So these small decisions that we make really, really help, because the audience is definitely watching, and other influencers say make a video on the same topic,
Yeah.
but they choose to make jokes the other way around.
Right.
And we try to show people that we can all talk about this topic without taking, you know, that as the butt of the joke.
Interesting. You know, a common question to all of you is you specifically engage with brands and you collaborate with other creators. Have you seen a mindset shift happening when it comes to, you know, just representation and driving like diversity and equality and inclusion across the content that you create or put out?
I would say I have seen a huge change personally because I collaborated with Mac for 2 of their Diwali kits. And growing up, I never thought someone like me could ever be on a cover. So I was a fat kid that's growing up. So that insecurity, that never leaves you, right? No
Right.
matter whatever you do in life. So to see them banking upon me and backing me as well and
Yeah.
saying that, you know, we think you can do this and we want to give you full creative freedom on this, and you decide what the color scheme would look like, what the names would look like for 2 years back to back, gave me a lot of confidence as well in myself, because I don't think I would have trusted myself that much as much as they did. And for an international brand to do so, of course I love my Indian brands as much as I love international makeup products, but for an international company to be able to do that, to give me that kind of sort of trust in myself, was a huge shift that I've seen, because earlier it was just like, oh, we created this product for a fairer skin tone or a more European, Eurocentric vision, and now it's here. To then go like, let's do a Diwali kit or let's do something for the Indian market. It has been a huge shift. So we are seeing that companies, no matter, again, this is something that it's been a very big passion project of mine to show that India is one of the hugest markets ever out there right now.
Yeah.
And we have the spending capacity, and how brands and even celebrities are now investing in India. So it's not just, again, it's not skin level,
Right.
be it makeup and beauty, it's very skin deep. And again, thanks to YouTube for that, because my whole teaser for my first Mac collab was actually just over the years of my haul snippets from YouTube, where I'm saying, I bought my first lipstick, I bought my first this, and then it added up to that. So it was a whole journey. So there is definitely a big switch happening, and it has been happening for a while, and it's happening in different spheres. It's not just makeup and beauty just because I'm consuming it.
Right.
But Mr. Beast is in India right now.
Yes.
And again, 5 years ago, no one would have thought that he'll come to India out of everywhere, because, you know, who's watching him here? But that's not the case. That's never been the case. India is a huge market and everyone is ready to see it finally.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, at Pocket Aces, we have 200 plus influencers that we work with.
Yeah.
Right. And influencer marketing is a huge bit as part of the marketing for any brand.
Yeah.
And now, more so, a lot of brands are more experimental with how, and they want to be part of this change. It's just that you have to find those people. right? I mean, like I said, at a creation level, or you have to find, or actors who believe in that. You will still have actors today who will say, we want the bigger role or the bigger part, the male characters, right? But you will also find the male actors who would be willing to play the subordinate or be the supporting role if it's a women protagonist, right? So I feel in every aspect, we need to find the like-minded people, and then you will be able to bring about that change. And, I mean, across even our Nutshell channel, where we do a lot of infotainment content, we touch upon topics which are very, like, say, for example, menstruation, right?
Yeah.
I think it's it's not just for women. It's also for the men, right? So we need to get the content out to both the genders so that, those notions are broken. It's no more like this ad is about pads, so only women need to look at it. Because I think there you need to do more education, right? They need to be more updated. So, yeah.
Okay. Gautami, what about you? In your brand collabs, have you seen brands talk to you differently about these things over the years?
I think in our space and how me and Abhyuday work is that I handle all the brand work. So I think I haven't seen too much of like a different treatment from the brands. It's us who have to explain to them what works on YouTube and how things should be. And I feel like comedy is a space that brands are still trying to understand, where they feel like if you start something with humor in it, will people not take my product seriously? So that's the kind of challenge we face more often. But like, seeing Shreya's videos growing up also, whenever she spoke about brands and whenever she spoke about like foundations and shade ranges and reviews, like she did not ever need to talk about, say, people with a much darker skin tone. She could have just given review based on like her skin tone and her preferences. But back in the day, since forever, like she's always made it a point to speak about everything. Like, does this suit the deepest skin tone or not? Should you buy it or not? So even I could watch her videos growing up, and that sends a message to the brands that, hey, even if you're working with a set number of influencers and only sending the products to them, like there is somebody still checking on you and correcting you.
Yeah.
So in that space, I feel like these kind of contributions really, really help. So I'm really thankful to you for always being mindful of that.
Awesome. So we are sitting in a Google office, and we cannot not have a conversation without AI. We've gone like 16, 17 minutes without talking about AI. A study that we did internally told us that about 80% of creators believe that AI will open up new possibilities. In the world that I work in, I know that a lot of the SMBs, 80% plus SMBs, say that AI is going to open up creative possibilities that make life easier for them as advertisers. You all have been on the YouTube platform for very long, so we take this very seriously, and we've had AI embedded in our platforms for several years, whether it is surfacing content, whether it is accessibility, whether it is detecting violative content and then moderating it accordingly, and also now enabling creation in interesting ways using AI. What I wanted to ask you was a common question, but I know you'll have unique takes on it, is one, what are the opportunities and challenges in your mind when it comes to AI? And how can creators really look at using AI responsibly as they put content out? And what are the possibilities?
Personally speaking, I recently used AI to make mood boards for a Navratri series that I was doing, because generally I have a lot of ideas in my brain, but it's very difficult for me to explain it to like my photographer or anyone else at what I really want. So I made these mood boards using AI, and then everything was so crystal clear for my photographer, and this was the smoothest shoot that I've ever had in my life. But I completely agree that responsible usage is so important, because we see how deep fakes are going around and how there's voice modulations happening. So even with content creators, I've seen that a lot of people would just steal your whole video and then just change the audio up and just upload it on their channel. And while that's not harmful in the way that a deepfake would be, it still takes away from your own IP, right? It's your own intellectual property at the end of the day. So I feel like it's, again, obviously creators from their own end need to be very, very responsible of what they're putting out. If it's a AI comedy video, then again, especially again, and even in your field, I'm sure that you would understand this much more than I do, to not put out a joke that can, trigger people in a way that it could lead to a chaos overall as well. So I feel like even in beauty, media, comedy, and even overall shows, responsible AI with the check of just thinking before putting it out, that is it going to harm a particular community or not be beneficial to someone, should be the first thought process.
Interesting.
I think we've used AI from the very beginning in terms of, like even now we kind of test concepts on filter copy, which is our short form channel, right? And then it kind of transcends into, if whatever themes work, whatever works, we kind of make long form shows. If we feel that a certain topic really resonates well, we'll make it part of Nutshell as well. So we've used AI, I think, from the very beginning in terms of data analytics, whether it's subtitling, whether it's, it started with all of those aspects. So, and that journey, and I think that's been really helpful, because generally whatever is tested has translated into success. So if certain things have worked in short form, they've also translated on long form. And then we've also taken it to OTT platforms like Little Things. Just to want to give that example here. Like it was a filter copy video of, Dhruv and Mithila. That did extremely well. And then we made a show on DICE, which was Little Things on YouTube. And then it kind of went on to Netflix for the next 3 seasons, right? So that's been the journey. I feel in terms of AI as part of content creation, I think it empowers a lot of creators who are maybe, sitting in tier 2, tier 3 cities. They may not have music. They may not have a lot of editing softwares or, all these aspects that YouTube provides. Where they can kind of use AI or use content or, that enables them to put out a full video, right? So I think until it enables, helps, it'll be great. But somewhere, I don't think it can ever replace a human, right? I mean, human intervention is eventually required. But yeah, AI can do 80% of the bit.
Interesting. So empower the creativity, not replace the creators.
And
Shreya, just to the point that you talked about, right, in terms of using AI in content, one of the things that we also do as a platform is that we do encourage and mandate creators to actually put out the fact that they're using AI when they create content. So that's a very small but an important way in being responsible in the way that we use AI and empower your creativity. Gautami, what about you?
Well, yeah, I would love to, first of all, see people use AI more like above of like just ChatGPT and like Gemini. Like use the other tools as well. There's a lot that can be done, and definitely use it positively. Don't use it for your own selfish motives or pleasure or just to put someone down. Definitely that moral check has to be done at every point whenever you use any of these tools, because that's what, right? The internet is like a great tool that we all use. And we all know that some people use it for good and some people use it for bad. That's how it's always going to be. But what we can always do is check our own usage of it. And like you just talked about, AI could do 80% of the work, but that part sort of sometimes scares me as a creative. For me, it always brings me back to this quote where somebody said, I want AI to do my laundry and my dishes, and me to still do the creative stuff, and not for AI to do all of the creative stuff for everyone and create art. And now I don't create art anymore. Now I have no choice but to do laundry and dishes. Like, that's not what we want. Please don't take art away from us. So definitely it's a great tool though, like we use AI definitely on an everyday basis because it helps, it fastens the process,
Yeah.
it's cost effective. YouTube does AI really well where a lot of the algorithms and things are mostly AI, but if something goes wrong, then human intervention is
Yes.
there to kind of cross-check that. So that delicate balance is what will help things go smoothly because no matter what, at the end of the day, everything has nuance and context and nothing is as black and white as maybe an algorithm can make it out to be. Surely we are training the algorithms to also see in between.
Yeah.
But regardless, I would still say leave the art to us.
Oh, no, absolutely. Like I said, you all put the you in YouTube, so the creativity will always be yours. Looking at this panel, I think it would paint a very different picture where you think, oh, the world is a rosy place. But I think the idea is that we need to be very intentional about the way we include because otherwise we will unintentionally exclude. And the next time, I think we'd love to have a few male panelists having this conversation about being the voice of change. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for being the wonderful creators that you are, for being authentic in the way that you show up on the platform and really using your voice to drive change. So thank you, everyone. And here is to all of us doing our bit to be the voice of change. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was a really nice panel.
Thank you so much. Let's have a big round of applause. That was absolutely riveting. And thank you for all the wonderful work that each of you are doing, and thank you for moderating the session so well. It is now my privilege, of course, to request you to remain on stage, and I'd like to ask Neena Dasgupta, IAA Mancom member and founder and CEO of The Salt Incorporated, to please join us on stage to present a token of our gratitude. I'd also like to invite Janak Sarda, Honorary Treasurer, IAA India Chapter, to do the honors along with Neena. Had to be me, we love that. All of you are definitely the voice or the voices of change. So a big round of applause, doing the work that needs to be done. Thank you so much, and being authentic all throughout. So I'd, of course, request our audience members, you can join us up front. You're closer to all the action. And believe me, there's some action coming up. So everyone, please, why don't you get up and join us up front? You're like, no, these are the balcony seats, huh? Come ringside. Thank you so much. Thank you. So good. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. I think a bigger and louder round of applause for Neeti Palta. I mean, she's already challenging societal norms, defining, those gender stereotypes, breaking down barriers. Thank you so much. You are creating the way, and that's the way that all of us have been talking about all day today. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we still have some seats empty, by the way, if you'd like to join us. Everyone's really happy and cozy, right? But Neeti, you left too soon because we want to give you a little token of our gratitude. So if you'd join us back on stage to do the honors, I'd like to invite Neha Bajatia, IAA Mancom member and Marketing Director, Google India. And Pankaj Krishnan, IAA Mancom member and founder and CEO, Chrome DM. For a vibrant picture. Let's have a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, lots of action happening on this stage, so come up front and join us. Thank you. And now onwards and upwards onto our next panel, which talks about digital advertising through the gender lens in an era where digital media shapes perceptions and influences societal norms, it is truly critical for all of us to reflect on how gender is portrayed across content and digital-first agencies, brands, and advertising platforms. So basically, this conversation is going to dive into how these portrayals can either reinforce or challenge stereotypes and the role that brands and agencies play in driving positive change. So we will just wait for all of the chairs to be set up on stage before I invite our panelist and the moderator. So before I invite our moderator, let me tell you a bit about her. With over 18 years of expertise in journalism, covering everything from brands to corporate and TVC, she brings a deep and informed perspective to today's discussion on gender and health. Ladies and gentlemen, she is Miss Anushree Bhattacharya, editor for education, brand and marketing at financialexpress.com. Warm welcome to you, Anushree. We also have a virtual speaker joining in, a visionary in the creative industry, celebrated for its innovative campaigns that aim to break stereotypes and resonate meaningfully with diverse audiences. Please welcome Mr. Anurag Agnihotri, Managing Partner, Creative at Ogilvy West. A warm welcome to you, sir. Yes, I think we're just going to get your audio up, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, wonderful. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now joining us on
Hi.
stage, sorry, I will just invite all the panelists, sir, and then we're going to hand it over to our moderator and the panelists. So joining us on stage is someone who brings a wealth of knowledge on digital and content strategy with a focus on creating impactful narratives. He's a well-known podcaster, filmmaker, and screenwriter. Could we have Mr. Karthik Nagarajan, CEO of Hogarth, joining us on stage, please? He also, by the way, teaches content marketing at Mica. A warm welcome. It's a true pleasure to have you here with us. This promises to be a truly thought-provoking panel. And joining us next on the panel, sir, you can please take your seat, is a dynamic leader who has been at the forefront of leveraging digital strategies to create meaningful content. She's made deep impact, and with her expertise in using data-driven insights and creative storytelling, she has been instrumental in driving inclusive advertising initiatives. Let's welcome Neena Dasgupta, CEO and founder, The Salt Incorporated. Welcome back on stage in different roles. And our last panelist, someone who is known for his expertise in consumer-centric branding, especially for brands like Mama Earth that promote inclusive and responsible narratives. He brings over 2 decades of experience across consumer and technology sectors. Please welcome Mr. Zairus Master, Chief Business Officer at Honasa Consumer Limited, Mama Earth. I think we are all fans of everything you do, of all the products that Mama Earth puts out. So a warm welcome, and of course it's over to our lovely moderator for the session.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And this is a very special cause, very close to the heart. So I thought, okay, might as well do the road trip from Noida and do this. Okay. Yeah, I'll start with Anurag. Anurag, I've gone through some of the campaigns, and what I saw was there was a very nice way of using women's strength and metaphor, like we said. And when you decided to create these particular campaigns for certain brands, you know, whether it's a hair oil or a shampoo, was it a very conscious decision that you will use strength and, you know, women embodiment of strength to showcase what the brands stand for? Or you felt that it was about time to ring in the change in the narrative?
Yeah, hi. No, to answer your question, the particular brand the particular work that you're talking about for Unilever, that particular brand, and if I can take the name, the Clinic Plus, they celebrate mothers as someone who gives strength to the daughters. So that is where the strength comes in. You know, so in that particular case, on that brand, we have done a lot of work which is about its strength. And देखिए इसमें through when we are working on that brand, we kind of understood one thing very clearly, which is the reason that you know the ads show women the way they show them is because they are always seen from someone else's point of view, and then therefore we kind of treat them as individuals and someone who has their own voice, and try to treat them, show them as strong individuals. So that's what it is.
Thank you. For Zyrus, you know, Mama Earth is in a domain where there are many other companies also, and you have multiple brands, larger known as Mama Earth, but you also have a Dr. Shade, you also run the Be Blunt salons in India. When you thought about depicting women in your narrative, what were the things that you thought that you will stay away from, given that there are many traditional players or legacy players in the market?
Yeah, so that's right. You know, Mama Earth is just one of, it was our first and our largest brand, but we also have brands like the Dermaco, we have Aqualogica. These are all differentiated brands, but yes, they're in the beauty space, and therefore, you know, women are a large part of our consumers. I think, you know, when we are talking of something like this, it's more what's our point of view on the market, or what's our point of view on society that actually comes out across in all our communication. The reason to believe, you know, as pure marketeers, the benefits and reason to believe may be different, but it's like, what's the story that we are telling? You know, we are a digital first brand. We are really talking to the younger, modern India, more in urban centers, etc. And therefore, our storytelling, and I'd say that our storytelling has worked also because it resonates with them. You know, we see a new slice of life, right? We see women in progressive roles. We see women in, you know, celebrating themselves. So the routes may be very different. Each of our brands may take very different routes, but eventually it'll come down to that. So that's what it is.
Karthik, we were discussing about stereotypical product taglines, and we also discussed a case because when I was researching for this panel, I went through a lot of ads, and then I realized there's this very popular fairness creme which changed its name. However, the advertising did not change. So if you see, from fair it has become glow, but we are still glowing somehow. So how do you know, help understand that differentiating the tagline? It's the tagline needs to change. The stereotypical in product scheming needs to change.
I don't know if it's so much about the tagline, and like we were talking about, you know, I can't think of a tagline that's fundamentally sounds very negative, but everything that we sort of put out there, even subconsciously, I feel has a much deeper impact, right? Like we were talking about, I haven't seen an SUV commercial with a woman at the wheel, you know. Most of the best driving people that I know in my life happen to be women, right? So we don't see that, and you don't see, for example, though it is changing now, alcohol advertising where women are the protagonists. So I feel like there is a lot of subconscious decisions we make, which are fundamentally very problematic. Yeah.
Yeah, to many of your surprise, I think Scorpio was designed by a woman. Johnny Walker in its latest ad has Priyanka Chopra. So probably that's some transition that we're looking at. But if I come to you, Nina, you know, there was something that I also noticed, that when we're talking about content on television versus OTT, international OTTs versus regional OTTs, the depiction of women is kind of different and not different at the same time. So when we're talking about sensitizing the viewer, what that leaves with the viewer at the end of the day?
This is interesting. Actually, TV content is one place where anyone, when I got a brief recently from one of the largest TV channels, they said, give us content related to women. Because women-driven content drives numbers, while the women actors may not make as much money as the men. But when it comes to OTT, women-oriented stories actually do better. than male stories. So I think the content world is a bit more sensitized. In terms of portrayals, they're trying to portray, there's a myriad range. The way the consumer is responding to TV versus OTT is changing. OTT has a certain audience segment and TV has a certain audience segment. They are raised in a certain environment that we have spoken about, patriarchal systems. And I think that change is going to take a little more time. For instance, we have just done a series which is with in vitro fertilization, with story with 4 women. It's releasing on November 29th with 4 women, very sweet magnolia kind of type. But trust me, we met with a lot of resistance at the script level. We had to fight at every moment because while the content wanted to celebrate women, they didn't want to celebrate a lot. They wanted to kind of celebrate the man, like someone said, why don't they tell the man, kuch garbad to nahi hai idhar. It was that part. You had to always fight. Even, I think it's more in ad, meaning I saw one of your brand placements on an OTT series, which had this girl suddenly move with a lipstick. You never apply lipstick like that. And I think the way we're trying to bring advertising into content is where the conflict comes in. And I think it's advertising probably which needs to see the change much more. But for instance, applying the lipstick, and then moving and saying, now my lipstick will never go away because it's Mama Earth and it's non-transfer or whatever, right? And the brand was delighted and they got recognized, and there were a lot of bar graphs and pie charts showing how there was an impact. But the point is, at that moment, the serial which was talking about a woman, I think the woman was taken 2 notches down. Yeah. Because we kind of got in an aspect which showed a weak side of a woman. So I think from a TV to OTT to international OTT, I think there is transition happening, definitely. And I think with things like Voice of Change and all, I think there is consciousness happening much more from an advertising content perspective. And I definitely see that change now.
And then you also have YouTube, where you've seen a lot of content which has been, backed up for women, by women, and for the women, right?
Yeah. So there is, and these are creators themselves who are doing it. The brands need to still accept a bit more. So for one of our brands, a finance category brand, we actually managed to fight and get a woman podcast person who's going to lead the entire chat show. And it took me a while to fight, but we said, you can't say a woman doesn't understand finance, right? So even on YouTube, the creators, you're right, are making much more content, but there is much more room, significant much more room. And I think the brands will have to start playing a role, far more.
Yeah. Karthik, to you, I'll take it from where she said finance as a category, or say real estate, is not looked upon as a category which belongs to women, right? And we were discussing that coincidentally, there are many women leaders who have led financial institutions or banks in India, but when it comes to storytelling, it's always a man's job. Similarly, when it comes to beauty, it is always a woman's job. And there's this one particular vlogger who I follow, and I think he's doing a very good job. His name is Ankush, but he's all about men's beauty, how to use a blush and everything. And I've seen horrible comment on his. So do we not need that to be sensitized too, that it's okay that if a man is owning up that also?
Yeah. No, I think at a fundamental level, whether it is an SUV commercial or a beauty commercial, we all make decisions on protagonists based on the TG that we are speaking about. So it's more or less a quantitative decision. But it's changing dramatically. For example, to your point, we were doing this on a social listening perspective, that the number of conversations on various platforms about men's beauty, I'm not talking about men's grooming, I'm talking about men who take skincare and hair care fairly seriously, is increasing dramatically. It's probably the single largest in terms of growth percentage, the beauty conversation that is increasing, right? So yeah, I think that will, the more we talk about it, the more then I think we will not make the subconscious biases. This is what I feel, yeah.
Thank you. Anurag, you've worked with Unilever, which is, for some of its brands, is known to be very, women-centric. They talk about equality. For example, there's Dove, there's the work that you have done. But overall, are brands open to the idea of gender diversity, or there is some bit of fear that if I move away from the normal course, I'll get a backlash also?
नहीं जी, क्या है ना, अभी things are changing. Basically, you know, there are certain clients, brands who kind of look at advertising as agent of change. You know, there's some of us who believe कि अगर आप देखें तो बहुत ही पावरफुल चीज़ है एडवर्टाइजिंग, ओपिनियन चेंज करती है। तो उसकी उसकी वजह से वो पहचानते हैं कि अभी पहले की तरह नहीं कि आपने सोसाइटी में जो हो रहा है उसको रिफ्लेक्ट कर दिया कि भाई वो बहू है, वो ये रोल है, वो बेटी है, आपने वैसा का वैसा दिखा दिया। आप चीज़ें बदलना चाहते हैं तो वो एडवर्टाइजिंग कर सकती है और बड़े तरीके से कर सकती है। वो देयर इज अ रिकॉग्निशन एंड the Unilever, some of the Unilever brands, and you talking about Dove and the Clinic Plus, for example, they fully recognize that, you know, and they keep encouraging us to, you know, do stuff which pushes the envelope and, you know, takes the society forward in this particular case.
Thank you. Cyrus, we have talked about how you look at your campaigns, but one cannot forget that beauty currently is a very cluttered market, right? There is Indian beauty, there are Indian D2C brands, and then there's the Korean madness, which is also seeped in to a certain extent. So when you create your campaigns, what is that one thing that you keep in mind, especially keeping gender diversity and everything in mind?
Yeah, see, like I said, we have multiple brands in the same space, and then we are absolutely conscious. See, look, my point of view, we talk about brands and we say the brands are progressive, brands are traditional, etc. Actually, that's not true. It is marketeers who are either progressive or marketeers who are traditional. And a good marketeer will always try to build some aspiration into their brand. Which is that they will always look at society and then say, okay, if society is here, I know which direction it's moving, and I need to be a little ahead. So good brand, and think of every iconic brand that you have followed. It's not important which one it is, but you will always see that it has always stayed ahead of its times. It's always given something to pull towards. That's what as human beings, when we use brands, we're looking at something aspirational. So I would say modern marketeers who are conscious of trying to build an iconic brand will always move their brand into an aspirational space. And sometimes they will succeed and sometimes they will not. But that's what we try to do. For example, if you look at Mamaearth as a brand, we are also purpose-driven brands, right? So we're not just a beauty brand. We're actually a purpose-driven brand, and for all our brands, we have some purpose or the other. For example, for Mamaearth, it is not. It's beauty is what beauty does, which is we said that you're beautiful when you do a beautiful task, be it in the space of helping somebody out, just being socially conscious, helping somebody else out, or taking care of the environment. And that kind of resonates very strongly with us. So it's not just, we're not just caught in a very narrow paradigm of what is beautiful or what looks good or bad. I think that's what it is. The other thing is, when we are in the beauty space, right? We spoke about the fact we also recognize it's not just limited to women, it's also men. You spoke about, influencers who are in the male space. I think influencers is something which is always leading, it's always. So I don't think if you're ready where a man will at some point in time on television come and put lipstick, maybe that's not going to happen, but you're already seeing that happen on the influencer platforms where men are talking about beauty from a man's perspective as well as, being gender agnostic. So when we are looking at something like this, like I said, we recognize the position that women have today for themselves. I don't even want to externalize it. I think how they want to feel about it, make them feel more confident, make them happy. I think that's the point of view that we want to take. And it's not just women. I can tell you that a large number of our consumers, a good percentage, maybe equal, actually come out of men. So men are also conscious at this point in time. So I think as a brand, we are we are in the beauty space. We are looking at how can we make our consumers feel more happy, more confident about themselves, and also consciously keep alive a social aspect or a purposeful aspect. For example, Aqualogica as a brand is all about, it's about water sciences, and therefore every time you buy the brand, we provide clean drinking water in a village. So we want to take it beyond just, the here and now, the physical aspects. It's much larger than that. And that's what we try. So for all our brands, of course, we are in that space. We have products which have reason to believe and benefits and things like that. But what we're trying to do is try and stay a little ahead of society, because we know it's moving in that direction. Yeah. So we will make some mistakes, but and it'll be, we will not get everything right. But the objective really is, as a smart marketer, how can I stay a little ahead, and pull society towards my brand point of view.
Nina, while we spoke about OTT, I wanted to touch base on the cellulite representation of women, you have some very women-centric film which has come up, while some have done pretty well, some have not. So, but do you think there are enough voices now when it comes to representation of women on the larger screen? I think this Singham also has a woman cop, which is very different from the many years of Singhams that we have seen. So you think gradually movie makers are also opening up to that idea of equal representation of women?
I think it's two things. One, content is business at the end of the day, and everyone is creating content or making a movie or making a show to make money. So films with women lead very rarely recover the kind of money that a producer would like to recover. There'll always be hesitation there, right? So they will try and show women in a particular way, but very rarely will you see women actually driving the entire cinema on her shoulder. So you'll have a Singham, but you'll never accept Tabu. How we accepted Uma Thurman in Kill Bill, I'm not too sure whether we'll accept Tabu in this, in these movies. So the point is that there is a change, movie makers are, but there need to be people who are willing to fund that. Today, last year, Sameer Nair, in fact, at Voice of Change told the panelists, there was Gaurav Banerjee and Aparna Purohit from Amazon and Hotstar, saying you should keep a budget separately, actually, where you're giving this money to movie makers to make such kind of movies today. So is there an appetite in the market? Yes, there is. Are the movie makers wanting to create such movies? Yes, they are. Internationally, they are doing it. But I think we need to make it, even like Smriti Irani said, it needs to become profitable. And somewhere we need to see the profits, and that's when the wheels of change will start rolling very much faster, I believe.
You want to touch base on that?
I was going to say that it also depends. Some industries have this problem. I come from land where, or a part of the country where, the Nayantaras and the Parvatis are actually the protagonists of very profitable cinema, right? So to me, I think, it's not so much that, it's more about, the more we discuss it, I'm reminded of this cinematic theme, which is called the Bechdel test. Those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a comic strip where two characters are talking to each other. One person asks the other person, have you seen this film? This person says, I don't see a film that doesn't check these 3 boxes. So the first box is the film needs to have 2 women with names. The second checkbox is they need to talk to each other in a scene. The third checkbox is they need to talk about a topic that is not a man. So the comic strip ends by her saying, the last film I saw was The Aliens. So to me, I think it's not so much that. It's even in a perfectly male protagonist film or in a commercial, I think we can have the sensibilities differently. We can showcase them differently, like what Zari, as you said, and like some of the excellent work that Anurag does. So I think it's more about that.
अनुराग, सबसे बड़ी चैलेंज क्या होती है जब आप ऐसे काम करते हो? Like there is always a line where you can go a little too much towards feminism or to create a balance in your storytelling. सबसे बड़ी चैलेंज क्या होती है?
देखिए इसमें क्या है जो भी आप कम्युनिकेट कर रहे हैं, वो मतलब हम कोशिश करते हैं कि एक तो वो हमारे जो जिसे कहते हैं स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं, जिनको ऑलरेडी मालूम है सब कुछ, जो सेम पेज पे हैं, उनके लिए इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है. हम चाहते हैं कि हम उसको मासिफाई करें और गो डीपर. एंड वहाँ पे आप जब बताते हैं चीज़ें, तो जिस तरह से प्रॉब्लम्स को हम आर्टिकुलेट कर रहे हैं, ज़रूरी नहीं कि लोग उस तरह से समझें उसको. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल इंटीरियर्स में आप जाएं तो आप बोलेंगे कि हाँ, कोई कहेगा कि औरतों को घर में रहना चाहिए, इसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या है. So the way we look at the problem, they might not. So what we do probably is that we don't want to show them the mirror or here is the problem. We kind of try and inspire them. A more positive version of the same thing. And if they fall in love with your communication, if they feel inspired, the chances are that they'll be likely to act on it. rather than telling them कि हाँ भाई ये तो ऐसा हो रहा है, देखो तुम्हारे यहाँ ऐसा हो रहा है, ये समाज में ऐसा होता है. तो ये बैलेंस हमको, आप बैलेंस की बात कर रही थी, तो ये बैलेंस हमको स्ट्राइक करना पड़ता है कि कैसे हम उनसे बात करें. एंड दैट इज द टास्क ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन. दैट इज द थिन लाइन दैट यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड.
The last round of questions. Karthik, what's your one message to influencers when they're creating content, and though a brand may have given a brief, but they need not jump the fence in order to get the eyeballs?
Can I go last on this? No, I think I feel creators should be creators. I think the more we get them to talk about brands, see, people follow them for a certain reason, and the more they sound like a brand, the less they sound like themselves. And honestly speaking, I think creators are doing a fantastic job of making this part of the mainline discourse, right? I don't think we have an influencer problem in this country from that perspective.
Nina, what's a message to a brand which is trying to get into the space and talk about gender sensitization about it?
Oh, that's interesting. Meaning the brand is talking to so many segments. I feel actually bad for the brands at times because they have to talk to multiple segments at the same time. I think what's happening is people are becoming far more gender neutral. The message is gender neutral, actually. And when it comes to beauty products, you, of course, have to use more women. But I think it's a matter of time before, it's a matter of time that they will speak about a boyfriend gifting a woman makeup, a father gifting a daughter makeup, father-in-law gifting, daughter-in-law, or a mother-in-law gifting a boy makeup, whatever, right? So I think those changes are going to happen. I think we're becoming a very gender neutral. I think the responses of certain generations are different. So I think that's what is going to happen sooner than later. It started happening probably.
I think you would assume that I'm going to ask what your message to the agency, but I would like to ask you, what is the message to the end user when you do that ad?
Buy my product.
Absolutely. Do think whatever you would please. No, I think, see, again, I go back. What am I trying to do as a brand builder? I totally agree, with what Dina said, is that it's getting gender agnostic. Thankfully, men are just as conscious about their skin, recognizing the fact that they have to look after it over the course of their life, then not to expect it to, or for that matter, appearance, etc. I think so it's not a gender thing. It's not a gender thing anymore. And as we progress, I think that's what, my challenge as a brand to the consumer is, like I said, that I want to appear aspirational. So I think, some of what, I'll probably, and it's the perfect client agency relationship, what Anurag just said a while ago, which is, I think, the challenge is to go just one step ahead. I think if if you go too far ahead, you may end up alienating your TG. And of course, the TG always is different. You may have a different TG over somebody else. I think that's the most important thing. And I think, like any message, any message that you give, irrespective of what it is, if you're going to talk down to anybody, it's not going to work. People are not going to like it. And therefore, you have to, whenever we're communicating to our consumers in the context of our products, we want to make their life more meaningful. We want to make it more important for them. So I think that's what that's what brands try to do. We are in a particular segment. Somebody like health may be into something else. Finance, professional well-being, or whatever it is. But we are all trying to make the consumer's life a little better in the right context. So I think that's what I want to communicate to my consumers, that I'm actually genuinely making a difference to their life in the way that they want to. And it's progressive. Society is extremely progressive.
Anurag, what's your message to the guardians of the society when you create different campaigns?
देखिए वैसे तो you can talk about many things, but एक चीज़ मैं जो बोलता भी रहता हूँ अपने जो भी लोग ऐड बनाते हैं या जो ऐड के पीछे पैसा लगाते हैं उन सबसे कि आप
जो ऐड के
दिखाते हैं
पीछे होर्डिंग्स लगाते हो, तानाशाही करते हो, उनको भी
पैसा
बोल सकते हैं। पैसा नहीं, मेनली उनको भी बोल सकते हैं।
तो वो चीज़ ये कि आप मतलब ये जो जेंडर का पूरा एजेंडा है, इसमें आप ऑब्वियसली हम लोग वी आर ऑल वेल विशर्स। तो कई बार क्या होता है कि हम कुछ फॉल्स बाइनरीज क्रिएट करते हैं कि भाई औरत और आदमी की लड़ाई हो रही है, ऑलमोस्ट ऐसा लगता है कि लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे आप हमारे यहाँ देखें, अभी हमारी जो नई चेयरमैन है हेप्सिबा चेयरपर्सन, हाँ, तो उनका एक तरीका है काम करने का, जो कि लीडरशिप की बात कर रहा हूँ कि आप शायद आदमी लीडरशिप जो है वो आजकल मतलब आज तक जो है मेल वैल्यूज से पूरी डोमिनेटेड है, लेकिन औरतों की जो चीज़ें हैं कि जो फेमिनिन वैल्यूज जिनको बोल सकते हैं कि उनके अंदर शायद सॉफ्टनेस होती है, एम्पैथी होती है, इमोशन होता है। अभी हम शायद आदमियों से मुकाबला करने की चीज़ें ऐसी दिखाते हैं कि जिसमें हम वो चीज़ें भूल जाते हैं जो उनकी आइडेंटिटी का पार्ट है, और हम कुछ और ही दिखाना शुरू कर देते हैं जिसमें कम्पीट कर रही हैं वो आदमियों से। तो आई थिंक शायद वो औरतों की लीडरशिप शायद थोड़ा डिफरेंट होती होगी आदमियों से, शायद उसमें एम्पैथी होती होगी, व्हाट दे ब्रिंग ऑन द टेबल इज प्रॉब्ली डिफरेंट। तो बहुत सारे एड्स मैं देखता रहता हूँ जिसमें औरतें आदमियों से कम्पीट कर रही, वो मैं अपने क्लाइंट्स को भी बोलना चाहता हूँ कि वैसा शायद उसको शायद हम हैंडल कर सकते हैं, ठीक कर सकते हैं। That's the message.
Thank you. Before we close, I just wanted to apprise you guys of one thing. We have been speaking about women empowerment, diversity, but while I was researching, there was one data point which really struck me, that women who come in the middle of the workforce, there is a huge drop. And that drop is because mostly women are expected to manage their families. They have to take a setback. And when they try to come back to the workforce, they don't find the kind of support or the response they need from everybody else. So I think somewhere it goes beyond depiction on the screen. I think if you really need to have more women, then you need to create more space for these women to grow and come. That's the last thought with everybody, if anybody wants to chip in.
After you.
Yeah. So one, I think it's choice. It's between man and woman. We kind of bring that often. It's a choice. Any woman who's having a baby, I always tell them, plan your life in a way that you don't think of having to give up career. I think the environment needs to become far more stronger, and I think that where it's a joint responsibility of the man and the woman to create that environment, and both have to agree to raise a child in a particular manner. So I think both are involved. I think it's there are companies who support, but what happens is it's the environment that doesn't support the company. So we had started this. We used to get women back into workforce from pregnancy, it's their colleagues, it's their peers. We have to actually start training the organization to embrace these women back, because you have to give them some leeway to be able to, you know, get back into the workforce. So I think it's a far bigger change, a bigger agenda there.
No, I think, we all, you know, as an economy want to grow. We have lots of ideas. Thankfully, today, there's enough resources that back it. I think what really prevents all this from coming to life is actually talent. So we have a massive talent shortage in this country. And actually, if you look at it, 50% of the human talent rests with women, right? And if you're not able to harness that talent, how will we progress our growth? So I think to me, it's absolutely logical that an organization, irrespective of what stage it is in, what does it do, everybody wants to grow. And if we do not harness women talent, we're just going to miss out. And everybody is short of talent. So it's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Now, how we do it, etc., is, you know, challenging, but it's a no-brainer.
Since you brought up data, I just want to leave everyone with a few data points. You all intuitively think that things are becoming better, right? You'll think that the graph is moving this way. And much of what I'm going to say is from this extraordinary book called Equal But Different, written by Anita Bogle. So two things I'll leave you with. One is, if you take at the highest level, the number of board seats across the world, women occupy about 19%. About 18%, right? And if you feel this number is going up, you will be wrong. This number is actually coming down. Yeah. And secondly, more than 20% or around 20% of the women who take mat leave don't come back to work. And if you think this number is also going down. And if you think India is doing better, for example, when compared to other Asia-Pacific countries, you will be absolutely wrong. The India number is about 30-40% lower than the Asia-Pacific average, right? So it's not like you're in a situation which is significantly better than the last 5 years. You're actually terrible where you are.
Hello. Can you repeat? Sorry. What did you say?
कोई आखिरी ऐड करना चाहेंगे आप?
इस चीज़ पे जो जिसके बारे में बात हो रही है।
हाँ जी।
नहीं, मैं देख रहा हूँ कि सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में इस बात की एक जागरूकता है कि हमको जेंडर रेशियो बढ़ाना है उसके अंदर, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर, और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा, एंड इट्स फॉर द बेटर, ज़्यादा लड़कियाँ, ज़्यादा औरतें ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में होंगी तो शायद हर चीज़ अच्छी हो जाएगी। तो वो तो होना ही चाहिए, बिल्कुल होना चाहिए। और आई थिंक अभी इस बात को लेके एंड बड़ी आई कैन सी इन आवर क्लाइंट्स ऑफिसेज एंड आवर ऑफिस दैट वी मेक अ कॉन्शियस एफर्ट फॉर दैट यू नो, बल्कि मैं तो 19-20 का फ़र्क है तो 19 पे चला जाता हूँ, लेकिन लड़की को हायर कर लेता हूँ।
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, and have a very good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all our panelists. What a thought-provoking session. Thank you so much. I'd like to invite Megha and Nina back to the stage to present a token of our gratitude. Thank you for navigating that session so well. Thank you for sharing your unique perspectives on the role of digital advertising in shaping gender narratives. A big thank you to all our panelists. I think we can do better than this. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We love that positive note, 19-20, and let's have more women in our organizations. And of course, so many takeaways, I could go on and on. Equal but different. There's just so many little notes I've taken, but I'll let it rest. So coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, is our final speaker session for the day. We all know who's joining us, right? Do we? Who is it? Could someone apprise me? I really don't know. Yes? Who is it? Louder. Yes, absolutely. We have the lovely Tapsi Panu in the house. In the house. We have a lot of fearless, exceptional women gracing the stage today, as well as a few men, so thank you. Just a quick request that anyone who's outside, can we kind of send word to them? They don't want to miss our final session, one of our most awaited sessions, ladies and gentlemen. So it's all happening here at the 3rd edition of the IAA Voice of Change. So firstly, I'd like to take this moment to welcome our moderator for the next session. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Mitrajit Bhattacharya, IAA Mancom member and founder, the Horologist. Let me tell you that with over 800 articles and 2 books, I will get out of your way, Life Money, Can't Buy and Grand Hours, he brings deep expertise in luxury and mechanical watchmaking. He now consults brands on premiumization and contributes to leading publications like The Hindu, Outlook and Travel and Leisure. So please welcome Mitrajit. Yes. Thank you so much. We truly are honored to have you here. And now our most awaited speaker. Of course, we've all seen her. We've loved her exceptional work in films like Thappad, Pink. But we love you for your work as well as your fearless spirit. You know, you have a voice and that is what today is all about. So let's use our voices to make some noise, ladies and gentlemen, please. Our final session. Give it up for Taapsee Pannu and of course, Mitrajit leading the way. Thank you.
Good evening. I had to make a deal with Pooja actually. I went up to her and said, do not introduce Taapsee because otherwise you will steal my thunder. So I've got a little, I tried to keep it just under 1 minute, but it's going to be longer. Oh God, it's not okay, 14 years into movies, just 11 years into Hindi movies, already winner of 2 Filmfare Awards. Taapsee has emerged as one of the most known contemporary faces for women-centric films in Hindi. Taapsee's first film was Jhumanti Nadam, that's right, in Telugu. But she had signed Adakalam, which was in Tamil, which went on to release the next year. Who would have guessed the girl who made her Hindi film debut in Chashme Baddur would come back within 2 years with performances as intense as Shabana in Baby in 2015, followed by the courtroom drama Pink in 2016, both of which were huge commercial and critical successes. And I think all of us in the room have probably seen those 2. She followed it with Naam Shabana and the Ghazi attack in 2017, and then movies of different hues, very different hues, Mulk and Man Marziya. The next year, which is 2018, the psychological thriller Badla, and the multi-starrer Mission Mangal in 2019. Her back-to-back Filmfare Awards came for her portrayal of the sharpshooter Dadi Prakashi Tomar in Saad Ki Aankh and a homemaker going through divorce in Thappad in 2020. The COVID break, and that during that time I have interviewed her actually 3 times, if you remember. Twice, yeah, Bollywood talkies, and once on your work during COVID. During that time when everybody was like kind of jobless and saying, "Aur interview kar lo, kuch hai nahi kaam karne ke liye." She had actually starred in releases on the streaming platforms like Haseen Dilruba, Rashmi Rocket in 2021, which was a Run Lola Run adaptation, Loop Lapeta in 2022, Fir Aayi Haseen Dilruba in 2024. So there was a lot of streaming releases. Not to miss out on the big budget multi-starrers, Taapsee came back on big screen with SRK in Donkey in 2023, and now with Khel Khel Mein, and I sent you a message saying I loved your role in Khel Khel Mein with Akshay Kumar. Apart from acting, Taapsee successfully owns businesses across diverse fields, which probably many of you don't know. She owns badminton teams, tennis teams, event management company which manages weddings, and a Bollywood production company. So she has her hands into many, many businesses, and I think we should learn from you how to run multiple businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to present to you the most significant voice of change in movie business today. The lady who never shies to speak on varied subjects that matter the most, from migrant issues during the pandemic to gender pay equality and projecting women right in the movies, Ms. Tapti Pannu.
My temperature is rising. I'm under stress and pressure now.
Okay, let's go through her movies and learn about what has shaped her career, in which will define today's context better. Did you ever think a 7-minute role in Baby would make the filmmaker think of a full-length prequel on your character Naam Shabana? Quite rare, isn't it?
If I have to say yes and no, then obviously no. I never thought this will happen. But yes, I knew it'll leave an impact that'll make people remember me. I knew that. But how big an impact will it be, that I didn't know. That was too good to believe. I remember when I got a call from Sheetal sir, who was the producer of Baby, I think 2-3 weeks after Baby's release, and he was like, we are thinking of making a spin-off on your character because, as you can see, there's so much of love and appreciation for your role. So we would like to maybe make a TV series kind of a thing or something about. So we are just thinking, but I'm just letting you know that we are in the process of doing something like this. So you know that you have to get back into this zone again. So I was like, this is too good to believe for a person who's just done one Chashme Badur and Baby. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to take it seriously until it actually happens. Couple of months later, he calls me and said, Neeraj has written a full-fledged film for you, for your character, and we're going to make it into a film. I was like, now this is getting more absurd for me to believe. I was like, I'm definitely not going to believe it till I'm there on the set of that film. That's actually has my character's name as title role. It had never happened before in the history of this film industry that a girl who is just 2 film old is getting a title role of this kind. Spin-off is happening. Us time pe this whole world of universe, creating universe, copy universe, spy universe was not happening. So this was probably one of the first to do something like that. So I was like, this is too fancy or too good to believe. It's almost like a dream situation. So I said, okay, I'll not believe until I'm on the set. And I remember the date. So 16th September 2016, Pink released. And obviously it started changing my life quite a lot. But what really made me feel like things are getting serious was when on 18th, which was a Sunday, I was on the sets of Naam Shabana. And that day, Sheetal sir asked me, do you believe it now? I said, yeah, with the fact that I'm coming with so much of noise about a film that just released and I'm here on a film set, I can feel the sense of responsibility and the fact that now it's going to get very serious from there on.
Okay, we take on the next biggie, which is Pink. And that's where Meenal Arora, the character you played, said no means no.
Yeah.
And it is so significant in today's context. When a woman says no, it means no. What did you learn from Meenal Arora as a character? How close or distant was she from you?
Close in a lot of ways, because I remember when we were doing workshops or prepping up for that role, there were a lot of things introduced in that character that came in after discussions between me and the director, writers, Shujit sir, because I'm from Delhi. I have that kind of similar-ish upbringing or the way of living or whatever you can call it. So there were a lot of things like, for example, आप रात को अगर लेट जाते हो, आप घर वापस नहीं जाना चाहते late night because you feel your parents will get disturbed when you walk back into the house. So rather you would want to stay at your parents' friend's house or rather if you're working in say Gurgaon or Noida, you would want to take up a separate apartment to live with your colleagues so that you don't have to go back home late after long travel or after late day of work. So that's the idea. That's why we got that whole idea of making these girls stay together even though the parents were in the same city. Otherwise, it's probably a little weird thing here to have parents in the same city and you're living in a separate place. So these kind of things, and the fact that how cautious you are of your
present, like the fact that you're walking on road alone. How often you're looking behind, or how often you're looking over your shoulder is something that obviously comes because I've been born and brought up in Delhi. So all of these very smaller nuances of how you are street smart as a Delhi girl, because you know you pretty much have to be on your own on the street, but at the same time you are also scared. So the merging these two things with a character who looks very rebel, very like in control, or very like, you know, knows what she wants, but is actually also scared and cannot physically overpower a man or a boy who tries to assert himself on her. So this is something that obviously came from the fact that I have been around here and I've seen it, and kind of similar stuff has happened to probably majority of girls from here. So it kind of had a part of me in it, and that's why it probably looked the way it looked, and it was felt the way it was felt.
Mulk and Manmarzia, you played very different characters. But I think what my takeaway from them was that women possess a very strong power, inner power, which often they suppress because of self-confidence or societal reasons. Do you agree? What were your takes from the two different characters of Mulk and Manmarzia?
I actually don't know how to interpret this, but I'll tell you why women have sometimes suppressed is because there's one unique quality we have, which is compassion, which is probably unique to our gender in a more generic way. So I feel when we think of a situation, we probably try to keep everyone else before us and think of, is that one feeling fine? Oh, is that one feeling comfortable with it? That's a very woman-like nature. We want to make sure everyone around is also feeling nice and happy and comfortable and is not hurt. I think that kind of is what makes us take a step back in our own life. So that is why a lot of times some decisions my character makes in certain films is by virtue of being a female, you have a little more compassion quotient than other gender. So that's why I feel there's certain times you keep yourself in the back seat.
Sarkiak actually hit the bullseye quite literally. And it again has a very powerful story that shows, notwithstanding the situation, age, or monetary condition, if you have a will, if you have a goal and a will to achieve that goal, you will. What did you learn from the shooter Dadis, and particularly your character, which is Prakashi Tomar?
Actually, that film I took up not just because initially I took up that film because I wanted to do a film with another actress. I was desperately going around the industry asking people if they have a script for two leading actresses, equal parts. Because it looked like it's always like one is the main, one is the supporting. And I really was looking at doing a film where there are multiple, and hence I did Mission Mangal as well. I'm constantly looking at sharing screen space, and khel mein, you know, I like to share screen space with other women who have equal role. So that was
Isn't that very, very different from what we know of leading ladies, that they don't want to share screen space, and particularly equal screen space?
It's not just with leading ladies, it's the men as well. Yeah. So I think it's not gender related, it's more like insecurity in your character or personality related issue, not really a gender related issue. So yeah, this for me was I believe I know my job. So I don't have to get insecure about someone else's present. And I can, if I see, like you started the session with the fact that I can make my presence felt with a 7-minute role was enough to give me confidence that I can, if with so many big actors in that film, Baby had a big ensemble cast. If I can make my presence felt there, then I can do that somewhere else as well. But the rarity that the fact that two girls don't have equal part in a film, it's always a supporting and main. I wanted to break that or try something that breaks that. So hence Sand Ki Aankhs, and when I got to know about Sand Ki Aankhs, it was like, ye to do buddhi hai. So why would you want to do it? Or like, I was like, oh yeah, I also was like, maybe they don't want me. But Tushar was like, let me think over it, the director, writer, let me think over it. Maybe we can think of it, because his idea was, I want to show that from the inside, these women have the spirit of a young girl. So he came from that thought process of casting young, apart from the fact that, yes, I agree, the finance part was also important. They probably they wouldn't have gotten as much money, unfortunately, if they would have casted someone of the same age group. So he tried to justify his writing, or try to bring in that angle of how I'm going to use these two young girls. I'm going to age everyone else around, but I'm going to make these two girls recall value a little bit young, so that people understand that they are still young at heart and mind, and their decisions are driven by that. So that's how he approached it. But I know there's a financial angle to it as well, and I'm not going to hide that. So yeah, so that happened. And I took, why I did that film, apart from this reason, was I have a mother back home who probably believes that after crossing 60, that's it, it's all done. Now it's an autopilot mode. जो चल रहा है अभी चल रहा है. मतलब there cannot be a new start, or there cannot be a big change in life anymore, which I have been against, and I've been telling her to learn something new, start something new, and she just doesn't take it seriously, and everything comes down to age. Ab ho gaya, ab ye, and I really want, I wanted to, it's like, how much can you really push your parents? Sometimes they're too stubborn. Maybe that's where my stubbornness comes from. But I said, let me just show it in my work, to do something that I would strongly believe
It's like
in.
internal marketing.
Maybe if I'll do a film and show it to her, she'll understand better. So it is for all these women, like of that age group, who believe that after crossing a certain age, that's it, ab khatam ho gaya, ab kuch nahi, ab to we're just sitting and waiting every day for that day to come where we won't be able to breathe anymore. You know, it's literally like that. So I wanted to break that and present this kind of an idea, is why I do.
One thing you learned from them.
That there is no age to begin something new.
Okay. I think one of your most significant portrayals has been Amu from Thappad. And it has been so, that one single portrayal has been so inspirational to so many unfortunate women who are probably going through similar situations in life. And what do you have to say about the whole thing? Because it was really, really inspirational to many.
And I'll be lying if I'll say that I did not know that it will have this kind of an impact if done well. Because I know very well around me the number of women from the so-called educated strata of society who are going through this kind of abuse on daily basis. So it was not like, and that was the reason why when Anubhav sir and I were discussing about it, that we're going to do something like this, he initially was thinking of, we'll base it out of, the lower middle class society where there's lack of education and knowledge or whatever. So this probably was a little bit of nudge from my side, where I told him that, no, let's just make it in our upper middle class society, where we think we're educated enough, we're aware, we are well traveled, we have a lot of access and knowledge, but we still choose to do this and overlook it. So that was a little bit of nudge from my side. But yes, so I will be wrong if I say I didn't know it will have that impact. And it was so impactful that till today, it's very embarrassing almost, that sometimes I don't know how to react when there are a lot of women who I meet and they come up to me and say, with a smile on their face, they'll come and say, this was my story. So I don't know what to say thank you or to say sorry. So it's very awkward situation I'm in, because I don't know to smile or to be feeling bad about they had to go through what they had to go through.
But surely a lot of them took a call, good or bad, obviously, inspired by that one single portrayal of yours. Okay, let's lighten things up. During COVID...
Doing a rapid fire.
No.
Lighten things up.
No. I had once asked you this, what is this Tapsi always running syndrome? Because you had back-to-back 3 movies where in a way you were running. So you had
you had Rashmi Rocket, which is a very serious one. Then you had a Loop Lapeta where she was, I don't know what she was doing. She was running everywhere. And then you had again a biopic, which was Sabashmi too. My question is not that. My question is many a times we see women, leading ladies who are putting so much effort in so many things, but they are not trying to be athletic fit the way you need it to be in, say, a Rashmi Rocket. I mean, there's a lot of effort, and there was a COVID pandemic break for which your entire training broke, and again you had to start.
It'll be another session if I start talking about what I went through.
No, I think it's very important because this is one subject we don't normally cover in this this voice of change. That the physical part, while we say, okay, men are stronger and they will do the, but these are examples of pushing yourself to the limit. And what attracts you to push yourself so much?
I just love my job. Let's start.
Take us to the training session as well.
Actually, I'll tell you the gender aspect of it. Maybe then it'll make more sense with the whole gathering. So I had taken up this film called Rashmi Rocket, which people don't know. It was about a female athlete who has higher testosterone levels than the permissible limit. And that doesn't make her a male or a transgender. She just has hormonal imbalance in the body. Okay, so because of that, she gets banned. So, and then how she comes back and fights it back, and you can see the film, it's on Z5. Okay, so that was the film, and when I got attracted towards the story, and I was like, I know it's going to be an uphill task to do this because, fortunately, or in this case, unfortunately, I don't have higher testosterone levels in my body, so I will have to make my body look like someone who has higher testosterone levels, which means I need to have bigger muscles than an average female, bigger visible muscle and strength, and to be able to run, and each muscle should be visible because that's how the sprinters are. Now, the good thing is I've been a wannabe athlete my entire life. I used to race during my school days. I played a lot of sports, jack of all trades, master of none probably, but I love athletics in general. So that kind of helped me push myself to do it. Now, while I was doing it, I am not someone who loves to make reels in the gym or to constantly keep showing off every muscle on social media. I decided to work really hard and then eventually show the result of my hard work. To which the instant reaction was, first, ये Photoshop है. Second, इसने steroids लिए हैं. Third, transgender है. Yeah, I was लड़के जैसी लिखती है. ये, I mean, that really actually justified why I even did that film, because that was allegation on the character as well. But so these were the immediate reactions because एक लड़की है तो ये तो कर ही नहीं सकती और natural तरीके से तो कर ही नहीं सकती. I had to go out and put out training videos, whatever I had from my trainers and all, and try to make them understand I wouldn't do it not the natural way because I have a life beyond films. I want to become a mother. I want to have a family in the future. I will not do something to myself that's going to damage me in long run for one film. But no, I don't think that's really acceptable till date. That picture is there on my Instagram, and you can see the number of comments that are there about Photoshop or steroids or calling me a man there. And also during lockdown, if I talk about my training, I had to stop my training midway because suddenly we had lockdown. The shoot shifted a few months, indefinite, because we don't know when the lockdown will open. And I had to maintain that muscle volume, which is again not easy for a girl. We don't have that kind of testosterone in the body to maintain it. So I used to run in my parking lot for half an hour. I used to go up and down 43 floors of my building twice a day. This is apart from doing every day 1 hour of morning training at home on floor in whatever little weights I could find in the house. Used to do whole jhadu pocha, of course, like a lot of others, so that I continue my stamina level should be high because I'm actually going to sprint.
And whatever you are seeing in the film, the printing that I have done in the final races are not VFX से fast speed किया हुआ. I have actually a clocked good time of 13.5 seconds or 4 seconds, something like that, which is obviously not anywhere close to a good record, but it's extremely good. I know from where I started. So all this was never, so people talk about body transformations when there are so many men, heroes of our industry, who do some fabulous transformations, right? Dangal, Tufan, Bhag Milkha. So many, and Bhag Milkha ke to kafi trainers were the ones who helped me as well. I don't see any of these people, when they mention about body transformation, actually acknowledge the fact that what for someone with less testosterone level could do with the muscles that I achieved. But yeah, as he said, muscle banana या एक वो physically certain way दिखना was only meant a man's domain. But the moment I wear my sari in Haseen Dilruba, the moment I am like getting that typical feminine factor, now they're talking about my body. Wow, what a body. So this is just such a gender specific thing कि अच्छा muscle बनाया तो वो तो आदमी का डोमेन है, sexy लगना है अगर कमर दिखा के तो वो बंदी का डोमेन है. So that's how it is, and yeah, I don't know what to do with it.
But with in Hasil Dilruba, with all those saris, you were scary. I mean, sometimes, you know. Okay. Let's talk about the movie industry at large. Are you seeing more women-centric roles coming? And are you seeing the gender being represented slightly better if you take a window of maybe 5 years? Or are you actually not seeing a difference?
Actually, if talking to a wrong person, because I only get roles where women...
I'm talking about something now beyond you.
So overall, you are saying?
Overall, are you seeing more, like it could be anyone else, it could
A lot of people are writing, but I'm telling you, if there's a myth that people, when the actresses, this is not really a big televised show, so glad I can say certain things. So if actresses come in interviews, I'm not going to say generic statement, but a few of them I know firsthand, and come and say, हमें opportunity नहीं मिलती है. ऐसी स्क्रिप्ट नहीं लिखे जाते हैं, ऐसे रोल नहीं होते हैं. Trust me, they're lying. Because I have production house myself, I had just last year released a film called Dhak Dhak, which had 4 women, different age groups, right? I probably would have gone to a lot of women in the industry to do those roles. People did not want to shoulder the responsibility of a film, the girls. They don't want to. They are very clear, we are okay being in the shadow. We don't want to pick up the mantle of being the hero of a film. Because the backlash that you get is like, it can destroy you as an actor or your confidence as an actor. I know that firsthand because I've only done most of that kind of stuff. But the एक भी अगर positive hit हो गया, the upswing that you get from there is also very high, which they feel पता नहीं होगा कि नहीं होगा, but जो downfall होगा वो हम handle नहीं कर सकते. So they refuse categorically films that are headed or headlined by a female character. They don't want to do it.
So you are saying there are scripts written, but the problems are on both sides. It's not okay. What about the gap of payment? Is that improving?
Yes, I can say that in a way, because I'm going to think of it as a business. I've always given it a business angle to it. Yes, it's unfair if you see the number of hours, वो तो मैं भी उतना ही put in कर रही हूँ. But it's always about return of investment, right? So how can I overlook that aspect of business? Because eventually it's also business as much as it is art. You have to be in plus to make more films. How can you be in minus constantly and then expect more films to be made? But yes, things are improving in a way that because there are certain films or certain actresses who can shoulder the film, we get the biggest paycheck in those films. Even if there is a male protagonist in that with us, if it's a female who is driving the film, she will get paid more. But yes, the gap is so much that if my colleague who is like a male actor who is shouldering a film will probably get paid 10 times more for shouldering a film.
versus what I'll be.
No, that's why I said is the gap reducing. The gap is insane. There's
Gap
no doubt.
reducing in terms of in a film where I'm next to an actor and where I'm shouldering the film, then obviously I'm on the plus side. But if I'm doing a film like Donkey, where it's the biggest star of the industry, then obviously it's not even, there's no comparison at all. And honestly, I think I've recently said that in another interview, which suddenly became big headline, and I was wondering why people even find it so surprising. I am obviously paid much more for the films I shoulder than the films where there are male protagonists as heroes, because there they feel they are doing a favor to me by giving me those roles.
Okay, so this is the add-on question. What about advertising where Taapsee is Taapsee and not the character of the film? So how do you choose, offers to be brand ambassadors or endorse products which come your way?
So that is fairly simple. It has to be something that I use myself. It cannot be something so abstract that people are not able to see that product and me in the same frame and understand ye kaise hua. And also it needs to be because I'm coming as myself. I'm not coming as a character in a film. So now it needs to justify, like, why will you take Taapsee if you want it to be done in some other way? For example, I was just letting him know there are a lot of brands that come to me. Like, I don't endorse a hair brand till date. Considering the amount of hair I have on my head, it should be surprising. But it's because in India, people don't think curly hair is glam hair. They don't look at it as nice, good glam hair. For them, it's straight and long and, like curved like that to the end. So I'm telling my agency constantly, I only want to endorse a hair product, and look at my hair. I'm shocked to see why wouldn't a brand take me up for hair. And I don't have a hair product right now in my endorsement list because they don't want they don't want me to come with my curly hair. They want to straighten my hair. They're okay to take me. They're like, yeah, but we'll straighten our hair and then we'll sell it saying कि ये shampoo conditioner लगाने से ऐसे बाल हो जाते हैं. I was like, this is, you're really fooling them in their face. Everybody knows I have curly hair. How can you show me with straight hair and say कि ऐसे बाल हो जाते हैं इसके बाद?
I think this pitch will work because I think you've made a very straight pitch that your hair is gorgeous and you should be signed by
I'm probably
product.
one of the few actresses who doesn't use extensions or voluminizing sprays. Everybody is shocked when they look at my hair, like, you don't endorse hair product. I remember my skincare brands, or in fact, not just skincare, other brands, their constant question is, iske baal bando, ye hair ad lag raha hai, iske baal bando. So I'm constantly like tying my hair in most of my advertisements because otherwise it looks like I'm selling my hair, and because you're only looking at my hair and nothing else. So, but this was a very clear pitch in terms of like to my agency that I will not endorse a brand where they're going to straighten my hair and then sell it. It is so wrong.
So it is a very genuine portrayal what you
you
think of what Taapsee can do.
Yeah.
Okay, going back to films, so we forget about people in front of camera. Okay, everybody knows a Taapsee, and there are, other than ADs, you are not seeing enough women in technical, I would say technical departments like focus pulling, sound engineering. Why is that not?
But there are in editing. And they are coming up in cinematography also.
Still, it's like if you see the percentages, it's a lot more women should come in the technical departments. Do you think there is, now that you are a producer yourself, do you see there should be something done for the technical, or do you think again women are not interested in the technical roles?
No, there are a lot of practical issues that some women come up with: working hours, at what time you're going back home, all these things does affect their decision making in coming, because crew is the first one to come and the last one to leave, right? So you have like commitment beyond your basic working hours as crew. So obviously not all women are interested, and there's like a lot of heavy load lifting also sometimes.
That's okay, but I'm saying there are still a lot of technical departments where a lot more women could possibly work easily. Do they not find it glamorous enough, or do you genuinely, we are not rolling out red carpet or training them?
I think it's always about a precedence. If you see a few, you feel like you can do it too. So I think it's always about like
how many do you see happening? Like when probably editors back in the day, there weren't many, but when women started seeing there's so many women holding the machine and editing film, now there's so many female editors, cinematographers also. Lately, it has increased. So yeah, it's always about how many are setting a precedence, and I think it's slowly changing. There is, no, I don't think it's a glamorous part of it that is not letting them take it. It's just about yeah, the physical and the practical aspect of it that they feel it won't. But if they see someone else pulling it off, they might just get encouraged and inspired to do it.
So last two questions. You are a rank outsider to Bollywood, and kind of, I'm not getting into the nepotism and all that debate, but if you see a 20-year-old today who's leaving everything in a small town, maybe in Uttar Pradesh or Madhya Pradesh, and trying to settle down in Mumbai, what would be your advice? Because you have made it on your own.
I will say, first of all, accept the fact it's 70% luck and 30% your hard work or talent. And your luck needs to start working first. And then the hard work and talent can catapult it. So I will say that, in keeping that in mind, you should always be accepting the fact, you should always accept the fact that if this doesn't work out, what is the other thing you're going to jump to? Don't be so, plan B. Don't be so specific about, nahi, Amitabh Bachchan ne bhi aise kiya. There's one Amitabh Bachchan and there were thousands and thousands who went back home who we don't know about. So don't just keep hanging on to that one name and think that that's going to happen to you if you're persistent. So that is one thing. Plan B should be there. And as I said, don't, because if it's not there, they'll make desperate decisions, which I've seen women, men both making some really wrong decisions made out of desperation or survival in Bombay.
Okay. You hardly are seen partying with Bollywood folks. So my question is, you don't like them, or you think these parties are waste of time?
I sleep at 10 p.m. I wake up at 6 a.m. Doesn't leave me with time to party much. But okay, there were multiple reasons to it. This being one of them. I really have an alarm that goes off in my head at 10 o'clock, and I really want to sleep. I'm an early morning person. If you want to party with me, 7 a.m. is the perfect time. I can do raging party at 7 a.m. in the morning. I'm the one who jumps out of bed in the morning, not that groggy morning person at all. So that is one reason. The other reason is I decided to have life beyond films, and I consciously kept it like that. I did not want to, after pack up, again have life around the same kind of people, because then it will not help me grow as a human being. So I have quite consciously kept my life beyond work very non-filmy in terms of the people I've chosen to be around.
So even if you Google about Taapsee, you will not find any controversy.
Oh, a lot of controversies, but very different kinds.
Different kind.
Yeah.
We'll not get into that. So I have got a personal gift for someone. I've got she will not remember, but I have got a book, coffee table book signed by her, which I will gift it to whoever can answer. So I'll just throw open one question, which if you can answer, you talk to me later, I'll send you that book. You want to ask any question?
I don't know. I'm curious to know what question you're going to ask.
Okay.
I'll also think if I can answer it.
Okay. No, we have whatever we have discussed today.
Oh, okay.
So
no out of syllabus. No out of syllabus.
You have to immediately scream the answer. No hand up, and then somebody will. What was her character's name in Pink? So you will get that book signed.
Arora part was right, right?
Arora part was right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you for staying with us and
Thank you,
listening to us.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful conversation between both of you. And I think everyone was as engaged. And thank you for being so candid and speaking from your heart as always. Thank you for choosing the roles that you are, because you are reshaping the gender narrative for us. So big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Tapsi Panu and of course Mitrajit for doing such a fabulous job. All of us were on the edge of our seats listening to everything. And could we please have the lovely Nina and Megha back on stage? I think we've got you to, get in your steps today with the back and forth. Ladies and gentlemen, to present a token of our gratitude, we have Megha Tata and Nina Jaipuria, Chair and Co-Chair, IAA Women Empowerment Committee. Breaking biases together, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our final session for the day. And what a cracker of a session it was. A powerful way to end the day. So many cameras, you don't know where to look. Thank you so much. I'd, of course, like to request Ms. Tata and Ms. Jaipuria to stay back for the official closing of the event. Yeah. All happening here, third edition of the IAA Voice of Change Summit.
Okay, again, one big round of applause for Tosapsi and Mitrajit. Thank you so much. We are at the end of the session, end of the day, which we've overrun, but it was all worth it.
It always happens every
It always does. The voices get louder and longer, which is fantastic. So just very quickly winding up, because we have a nice interacting session right after. On behalf of the IAA, I would like to thank our partners for their support in championing our cause. We'd like to thank our presenting event sponsor, Google India and YouTube, knowledge partner, UNICEF, associate partner, TVS, web media partners, AdGully, Indian Television, Manifest, Media Brief, MXM India, and Chrome Talkies. Digital news partner, Republic Digital. Print partners, Free Press Journal and Hindustan Times. And would also like to thank our team Hansa, and particularly Ketki, wherever you are. Fab job, as always, from our events agency for putting up this wonderful show. Bhagashri and Mrinmay from Grey Mantle Communication for helping us with the event creatives and amplifying the event out on our social media. We'd like to extend a heartfelt thanks to the team Google India. Here, Neha, Lavni, Bhumika, Nandita, Sarah, and the technical team and others. Thank you so much for being at the core of this transformative journey with us. And the IAA Mancom members for their constant support, starting definitely with Ramesh Narayan sir. He's always been a big supporter. Mr. Srinivasan Swami, thank you, sir, for being here. Abhishek Karnani, Avinash Pandey, Rajiv Biotra, Neha Barjatia, Mitrajit Bhattacharya, Pankaj Krishna, and Nina Dasgupta. Thank you so much for being here. And last but definitely not the least, our wonderful IAA team, Somen, Dinika, Archana, and the team IAA for their support. We had to do this because none of this would have been possible without all the names I mentioned today. So thank you.
And now for the last 3 minutes, no more. I won't keep you away from home or the food outside. So we've had a very interesting day. We had a whole lot of people talking to us about gender representation, what's working, what's not working. Have we moved the needle at all? Have we kind of been true to ourselves? Have we been reckless? Have we been responsible? How do you want to go forward with IAA Voice of Change? And I'm hoping that with all the discussions that we've had today, we've all taken away something back for us to think about, to reflect about, in all the actions, in all the content that we create, It all begins with us at your homes, at your workplaces, in everything that you put out there as creators, communicators, even on a one-on-one communication. So I'm hoping that some of us, and we talked about that early morning in the afternoon, and we said we should have that third eye. And do we have that gender lens to everything that we actually do to make sure that we are challenging stereotypes, we are challenging the biases, we are challenging the inequalities that we see in the representation, so that at some point, everything that we put out there is positive, inclusive, and very equitable, because eventually that is going to shape society. And for that, I think I just want everybody to stand up in the room. I want the IAA members to come on stage. And
can we request Tapsi as well? We're going to do a pledge.
We want to just
come.
We just want to talk about a pledge that we've written over the couple of years, and we want to stay true to what. Neha, would you like to?
Neha, please.
Even Team Google, all of you like to join
Neeti,
us.
Can you join us?
Please. It's a very small pledge, and of course, we don't need to put our hand on our hearts, but if we just go back with that third eye, it'll be great. So can we have it on the screen as well, so that everybody can see it?
Even the front screen. Even the front screen, please.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not here? Can't come here? It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Just...
You can say,
You say, we'll follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's at the back, actually. If
Yeah.
you'd like to. Okay. I pledge to actively view content with eyes and a mind that are free of bias. Could you repeat after me?
I pledge to actively view
Content with eyes and a mind that are free of bias. I vow to demonstrate balanced, equitable, and inclusive gender portrayal in all narratives. Balanced, equitable, and inclusive gender portrayal in all narratives. I commit to leading by example by choosing to create and consume content that reflects gender sensitivity. By example, to create and consume content that reflects. I choose to encourage messaging in content that breaks stereotypes. I believe I have the power to be the voice of change. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Every voice counts. Thank you for being part of IAA Voice of Change. Thank you. Have a good evening. Take care of yourselves.